Part 89. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 915. In the hall of Wanjiao Epiphyllum, the steward in charge of accounting placed this quarter's account book on the table and asked cautiously, "Mr. Zhang, did the leader really not defeat Yan Zhaoqi this time?" Hearing the steward's inquiry, Zhang Lao snorted coldly, "How is it possible? The leader is determined to help him, otherwise Yan Zhaoqi would not be the leader's opponent." "Yes, yes, yes. What level is the leader? If the leader is willing to use the dragon spear, I'm afraid Yan Zhaoqi won't even be able to defeat him in one round. He still becomes a god. It's just a joke. It's just that those of us below are in trouble if we care." "Far less clear than your sharp eyes." The steward nodded repeatedly, and as he spoke, he did not forget to slap Mr. Zhang with the rainbow fart. Mr. Zhang's expression became much brighter when he said these words, "It's rare for the regiment leader to come to our place for seclusion and explain clearly to the people below. His eyes were polished and his mouth was sewn shut for me. What should I say? Whatever you shouldn't say, use your brain and think it over clearly." "Yes, don't worry, I'll be keeping an eye on this matter myself." The steward hurriedly patted his chest and assured, and then stood aside carefully to serve. Only then did Mr. Zhang pick up the accounts on the table and start looking through them. After watching it for a while, Mr. Zhang's face suddenly became unsightly. Why did the income drop so sharply this month? When the steward heard this, he could only lower his head and did not dare to answer the question. "Say what? Everyone knows very well that it was not the incident involving the enlightenment pill last time that caused the commotion. How much does an enlightenment pill cost, and how much does a yellow-lettered practice room cost? Everyone is not a fool, and they will naturally settle accounts in their minds." Seeing that the steward didn't answer, Mr. Zhang sighed, "It seems that it's still about the enlightenment pill. 2 boxes of enlightenment pills and 4 million script points will affect at least 2/4 of income. This is such a painful realization. It makes Mr. Zhang feel stuffy in his heart every time he thinks about it. Mr. Zhang, you have such a sharp eye that I can't hide anything from you." Alas, shopkeeper Yang is also confused. "Thank you for your kindness in saving his life. Otherwise, he would not be planting medicine fields now, for fear of being thrown into the deputy regiment. The Long Wanfang garden is light." The steward praised him so much that old man Zhang couldn't bear it, but he still felt good about it on his face. "That's it for this quarter. I'll tell the team leader that the lost money will be replenished from Sangxian Pharmacy at the end of this quarter. I heard that the sales volume of the new medicine launched by the pharmacy is pretty good." "Yes, the new drug Julin pill is very effective, but the price is too low, only 4,000 script points. I heard that this drug is in the hands of Rodeo dealers, and it is available at double the price. The supply exceeds the demand." Hearing what the steward said, old man Zhang immediately felt relieved. He picked up the teacup and took a sip and said with a smile, "That's good. The price of a healing medicine like Julin pill doesn't have to be too high. After all, the elixir needs a steady stream of water." "Yeah." When the steward heard this, he nodded crazily like a chicken eating rice. When the two of them were saying this, a person hurried in from outside the door. Something happened to Mr. Zhang. As soon as the voice fell, the visitor had already rushed into the hall and walked up to Mr. Zhang, speaking anxiously. Zhang Lao's heart suddenly skipped a beat when he saw the person coming. It was none other than Zhu Jie, the shopkeeper of their Sangxian pharmacy. Seeing Zhu Jie rushing over, Mr. Zhang's heartstrings tightened. Did the medicine furnace explode? No. Hearing that it was not the medicine furnace that exploded, Mr. Zhang quietly breathed a sigh of relief. The most fearful thing about refining medicine is that the furnace exploded. Even though Sangxian Pharmacy spends hundreds of thousands of script points on maintaining the medicine furnace every month, the pharmacy is still open day and night. When refining alchemy, there will always be accidents. there was a bombing before, which almost destroyed Sangxian pharmacy. So as long as the medicine furnace doesn't explode, other things are trivial. But before Mr. Zhang could spit out this breath, Zhu Zhe, sweating profusely, took out a bottle and handed it to him. Look at this. Mr. Zhang hadn't taken the bottle yet. He just glanced at the mark of the chubby little fat man on the mouth of the bottle. His eyes suddenly widened and his whole face suddenly turned pale. It's the enlightenment pill again. Mr. Zhang has seen the ups and downs of shopping malls and all kinds of storms in his life, but when he saw this chubby little fat man, he felt like he had seen some terrible devil. But hadn't all the enlightenment pills been taken back by me? How could there still be enlightenment pills? It's not the enlightenment pill, it's the reconstruction pill. Zhu Zhe hurriedly explained, a new Lo Jinfang opened today and is selling this medicine on a large scale. It is said that there is already a long queue outside the door. But he didn't know how to tell Mr. Zhang, so he could only bite the bullet and send the elixir up and let Mr. Zhang see it by himself. Mr. Zhang took the elixir and took a look. Reconstruction pill add 6. The familiar features gave him a bad feeling. He hurriedly looked at the attributes again, and his eyes went black for a moment. He held the armrest of the chair with one hand. He was dizzy for a few seconds before he gradually came back to his senses. He asked with red eyes, how does this elixir work, like, how much does he sell it for? We have tried the medicine, but it is not as effective as Kinlinden, but, the price, is only 800 script points. Zhu Zhe's words were actually very tactful. Not as good as Kinlinden, the implicit meaning of the sentence is that it is not much worse than Kinlinden. But the price is only 1/5 of Kinlinden. In other words, even if this elixir is only half as effective as Kinlin elixir, it is enough to completely make their Sangxian pharmacy lose their competitiveness. Seeing Mr. Zhang lowering his head and not speaking, Zhu Zhe gritted his teeth and continued, they also have a medicine, which is sold in limited quantities. It is a add 9 reconstruction pill. The price is only 1,600 script points. How effective is it? We still have it? Not sure. Hearing this, Mr. Zhang suddenly turned pale, his body went limp, and he almost fell off the chair. He has seen a add 9 enlightenment pill, and naturally knows very well that if this thing reaches add 9, the quality will definitely rise to a higher level again. I'm afraid the effect may not be worse than Kinlinden. 1,600 script points, this price is half lower than Kinlinden. This guy is targeting us. Zhang Lao's heart became colder and colder, and the strong sense of crisis made him feel like he was being targeted. Mr. Zhang, how about we collect it? We will collect as much as he has. The manager on the side quickly put forward an idea, but Mr. Zhang sneered and asked, I have even bought property, are you still afraid that you will take it away? Now the steward shut up. How low can we get here? Mr. Zhang was silent for a moment and asked Zhu Zhe. The herbs required for Kinlinden and the refined spiritual essence cost $1,002 together. This is the cost of one medicine when we have a refining factory and the support of the medicine garden, plus other labor costs. It takes at least 1,800 script points to maintain. After Zhu Zhe settled the account for Mr. Zhang fell silent. 1,800 script points can only be maintained, and there is one thing that Zhu Zhe did not say, that is, this cost is based on the huge sales of Kinlinden, and they can only spread the cost by making small profits but quick turnover. Mr. Zhang, otherwise, we will also lower the price. Just with the golden name of our Sangxian pharmacy, I don't believe we can't beat him. Zhu Zhe was also furious. At worst, they would sell at cost price and engage in a price war. He didn't believe that the other party could last longer than him. As soon as these words came out, Mr. Zhang rolled his eyes and suddenly felt that this shopkeeper Zhu Zhe could only be the shopkeeper in this life. If others don't know, how can he not know? The cost price of enlightenment pill last time was only a few times, and if the other party flipped it over, it would be 10 times the profit. The cost of the reconstructed pill that has been developed now is even pitifully low. The other party's ability is not to make elixirs at all, but to turn decay into magic, get the lowest cost, and sell it at the highest price. A price war? I'm afraid they were so dead that not even their bones were left. It's just that Mr. Zhang can't talk to Zhu Zhe about these things. It would be too shocking. Before the other party takes action, their morale will be completely destroyed. So Zhang Lao just said another way, if we don't lower the price, we will continue to sell whatever it was originally sold for. The price reduction will damage the Sangxian pharmacy's sign. If the sign is worthless, the business will be over. Then let's. Now Zhu Zhe didn't know what to do. However, at this time, after being silent for a while, Mr. Zhang suddenly laughed. This old man didn't know what he was thinking of, and the depressed look on his face suddenly disappeared. At this time, Zhu Zhe and the steward couldn't help but look at each other, wondering if Mr. Zhang had gone crazy because of the stimulation. Before they could understand what was going on, Mr. Zhang suddenly stopped smiling and said, "Go, let me know. Sangxian Pharmacy has recently reduced the alchemy capacity of all elixirs to 1/3, especially Qinlin Dan. It has been temporarily suspended. Only inventory can be purchased. Prices cannot be reduced. The prices of other drugs remain unchanged and operations continue as usual." After Mr. Zhang finished speaking, his thoughts became clearer. After many years of doing business, his thinking and vision have already developed extraordinary skills. He was just distracted by the little fat man on the reconstruction pill. Now think about it carefully. The reconstruction pill is not the enlightenment pill after all, and it cannot hurt the foundation of their spear god regiment. Moreover, the pharmacy at the exhibition is not just Sangxian Pharmacy. If they need to be anxious, it shouldn't be their family that is anxious. Thinking of this, Zhang Lao's mentality gradually began to correct, and he looked at the steward. "Go, inform the accountant, mobilize all the funds in the warehouse for me, and collect 200 million script points for Maine in the shortest possible time." The manager was shocked when he heard this. As Mr. Zhang's loyal lackey, he couldn't help but start to feel a little confused. "Mr. Zhang, what are you doing?" However, Mr. Zhang just smiled mysteriously and did not explain. He just asked them to do it as soon as possible. For a moment, the two of them didn't know what Mr. Zhang was going to do, so they could only go about their business. Only after both of them left did Mr. Zhang pick up the small medicine bottle on the table and look at the chubby mark on it. Suddenly he felt that the mark suddenly looked much cuter, and he even couldn't help but sing, "It's really a fight between the snipe and the clam, and the fisherman wins. The 4 million I lost last time, I made it back this time thanks to you." Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 916. The high-end exhibition area has been very lively recently, especially the Wuidao Tea House, which was unusually full of guests today. It has not been this lively in many years. The reason for this is, on the one hand, because Yan Zioqi's battle to become a god has become a topic of discussion after tea. Although no one witnessed the battle between Yan Zioqi and the gunslinger, the outcome was already clear. In this regard, it is as if Yan Zioqi admires that with the monopoly resources of the 6th Regiment, he can actually complete the feat of becoming a god. This makes many players feel like they have been hit by a stimulant. But there are also some people who sneer at Yan Zioqi's apotheosis, thinking that the god of guns is letting things slip and is deliberately making it happen. Otherwise, if the gun god had come in person on the first day of the arena's opening, his idea of becoming a god would have been killed in the cradle. The positions and views of the two sides were diametrically opposed, and they were in a heated quarrel. But Yan Zioqi's arena has now become an extremely popular attraction. As long as you are strong enough, you can get the fighting god to fight in person. After being defeated by the fighting god, You will also get the fighting god's evaluation and guidance. The gold content of this thing is astonishing. Just relying on the guidance of the god of war himself will be of endless benefit. If you have a good evaluation, your own worth will also rise, and your status in the team will also be greatly improved. It is no exaggeration to say that this thing is as exaggerated as a real-life MIT diploma. Many people regretted why they didn't rush to support the arena immediately when it opened on the first day. So much so that tickets to the arena are now hard to come by, and in order for Yan Zhaoqi to leave the arena in person, he must have a record of 5 consecutive championships. Some people speculate that as Yan Zhaoqi's arena business grows, the conditions for asking Yan Zhaoqi to do on-demand broadcasts in person will gradually become more and more stringent. In addition to this incident, another incident occurred in the advanced exhibition area. This incident is not of much significance compared to Yan Zhaoqi's incident, but its impact affects the vast majority of players. That was Lo Jinfang, who suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It's too cheap. It only costs 800 script points. Its efficacy is about the same as the new drug Kinlin Dan from Sangxian Pharmacy. Damn it, I suddenly feel like I lost 100 million on the medicine I bought before. Yes, this reconstruction pill also comes with a skill. At critical moments, this thing plays the same role as a small skill. It is really useful. Unlike the endless debates about Yan Zhaoqi's conferred god, when people's topic shifted to Lo Jinfang, the opinions were surprisingly consistent. After all, this kind of thing is a visible benefit to any player. I heard that there are also high-end goods with 1,600 points of script points, but it's a pity that I went a little late and didn't buy them. Yeah, I didn't buy it either. Damn, the second-level dealer sold the elixirs for as high as 3,020 yuan. What a thief. Fortunately, there is no limit to the ordinary good luck elixirs. 3,002 is a good deal. The Kinlin pill from Sangxian Pharmacy sells for 4,000. When it first came out, the scalpers doubled the price and the supply exceeded the demand. No, but having said that, if Lo Jinfang does this, it will probably offend all the pharmacies in the entire exhibition. Some people are worried about the future of Lo Jinfang. The pharmacy industry is not something everyone can do. In addition to the Sangxian Pharmacy of the Gun God Regiment, Shark's Lianhua Pharmaceutical, Momin's Xingxianjia Yuan, and the 3 teams of Baidu, Daman, and Fanmission in the 6th Regiment all have pharmacies. In addition to the 6th Regiment, other forces will also regard pharmacies as their primary and secondary industries. Because pharmacies not only make money, but also provide convenience to their own teams. More importantly, this kind of business seems to have a low threshold, but it requires a fixed medicine garden and a large-scale cultivation of some major medicines, so that the business can last long. This means that behind each pharmacy, there must be at least one LV5 expert supporting it, occupying a script world, so that there is enough land to support the medicine garden. Therefore, if Lo Jinfang does this, it will definitely offend all these forces. As these players were drinking tea and talking, their own guide elves floated up and started advertising. Master, Xingxianjia Yuan's Duan Yaganoderma ointment is discounted at 50% today as an exception. Master, the price of Lianhua Pharmaceuticals' nether blood pill has been cut by more than half today. It is said that buy 2 and get 1 free. Master, Guanyin Pavilion's Jade Dew Heart Condensing Pill, today's event price is only 998, and I will also give you a Buddhist talisman from Fanmai Mountain. Master. For a time, the entire tea house was filled with advertisements. Everyone was shocked at once. You must know that there are usually queues for these medicines, and it is difficult to buy one. It all depends on luck, and the price is not cheap. Today, there was a big bloodletting. Damn it, this is just to make a profit at a loss. Let's start a fight. Some people didn't think it was a big deal, and even had excitement written on their faces. But after hearing the news of the discount, many people's expressions darkened and they started to curse. Damn it, I spent so much money on medicine before and they didn't give any discount at all. Now I'm so desperate that I'm willing to pay such a low price. They treated us like leaks before we joined forces. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of many people in the tea house changed. I knew that drug prices in pharmacies were extremely profitable, but I didn't expect such huge profits, and there was a constant stream of abuse. Especially those big patrons who had applied for membership cards at these pharmacies before, they were almost so angry that they wanted to lift the table. The players in the tea house were so angry, and so were the players elsewhere. It is a pity that the exhibition does not have a forum, nor does it have Weibo or such social platforms, otherwise these pharmacies would probably be hotly searched at this time. After all, players are also human beings, and no one has a bad temper. This is probably a result that other pharmacies have never dreamed of. Just as these players were cursing these unscrupulous pharmacies, news came out that major pharmacies had begun to jointly apply to the exhibition to initiate arbitration against Lo Jinfang's malicious competition. As soon as this news came out, it immediately attracted criticism from everyone. Good guys, even if you are black-hearted, you can't let others have a conscience. These black-hearted ghosts really take themselves seriously. We have also initiated an application. We can't let these black-hearted traitors succeed. A player jumped out, holding the application order high, trying to win over the surrounding players to join, launch an anonymous application, and support Lo Jinfang no matter what. What? Arbitration. At this moment, Su Tong was looking at the account books in the store, smiling from ear to ear. Chang Wuhen hurried back from outside and said to Su Tong nervously. Yes, I just heard that those pharmacies are holding an arbitration conference and want to jointly arbitrate our Lo Jinfang. I asked about it and heard that arbitration is a matter of competition. Once it is determined that we are competing maliciously, the punishment will be very severe. No wonder Chang Wuhen was so nervous. Who makes Lo Jinfang really profitable? In less than 2 days of opening, most of their Zhao Zhao Dan has been sold. Lo Jinfang has accumulated nearly 2 million script points in its books. Good guy, the level of huge profits is simply jaw-dropping. Although they had already expected the results of the opening and knew that the performance would be the strongest in the first 3 days of opening and that the performance would truly stabilize after 3 days, they did not expect that the income would be so amazing. If Su Tong's plan is followed, when these batches of medicine are sold out, Lo Jinfang's reputation will gradually increase. With the enhanced ability of the Dream Rubik's Cube, they will not need to worry about script distribution in the future. Especially for players like Chang Wogu who take the prop card route, only with Lo Jinfang can he go further in the future. So he is not nervous, and who is nervous? It's okay, arbitration can't reach your head. Aimee was sitting at the counter, flipping the abacus with her fingers. When she heard Chang Wuju was so nervous, she smiled and said to him, "Sister, is this arbitration okay?" When Su Tong heard this, his anxious heart relaxed. After all, Aimee was the authoritative person in these matters. This is like those veteran cotters who have retired from government agencies and are recruited into the company with huge sums of money. Even if they are just in name, their understanding and control of official policies are enough to protect the company for more than 10 years. It's okay. The person in charge of the exhibition can directly check our cost price. We are not involved in malicious competition at all. As for disrupting the market, that is even less relevant. Our main business is not buying medicines. Aimee held her chin with one hand, with an indifferent expression on her face, as if she already knew what the outcome of this arbitration farce would be. Come on, then I won't worry about this anymore. I'm going to retreat. When Su Tong heard what Aimee said, he put his heart into his stomach completely, went back to his room to retreat, and left all the affairs of Lo Jinfang to Aimee. I want to take advantage of the gap to finish all the unfinished things in my little notebook in one go. Seeing that Su Tong and Amei were so relieved, Chang Liuzhe finally showed a smile on his face, slapped his butt and ran out, intending to take a good look at how the excitement would end. Buzz. After closing the door, Su Tong sat on the bed, then called out the props book, and scanned it carefully. After seeing Yan Zioqi's advice to Gao Zhou and Gu Zibai, Su Tong already had a rough idea in his mind. Combined with the duel between him and Meng Changshen, this idea became even stronger. The real top level is to take simple things to the extreme, or even beyond the extreme. Therefore, whether it is Yan Zioqi or Meng Changshen, both of them will continue to make breakthroughs in their core abilities as much as possible. Although he is a land god, his studies are complex and not tangible. Whether it is Chunyang sword code, Yanchu, or even Buddhist methods, they are all general but not masterful. To put it bluntly, I, as a land god, have so much water that my virtue is completely unmatched. Back then, Ji Qing, the alcoholic lunatic, was probably only in the state of enlightenment. He could kill a dragon with one sword. The grace of that sword could only be compared to that of Yan Zioqi, the new fighting god. I believe that if it weren't for the problems of the times that limited Ji Qing's cultivation, he would have no problem becoming a swordsman with his knowledge and understanding of swordsmanship. It was precisely because he understood the crux of his problem that Su Tong did not go up to the duel with Yan Zioqi. After all, it was quite embarrassing to be beaten. Su Tong glanced at the prop book, then reached out and grabbed it, and pulled out a prop card. This prop card was the Vajra demon suppressing hand. Not finished, Su Tong immediately cleared out all the prop cards related to Buddhist skills and stored them in a small box. Then his eyes glanced again, but his hand did not stop. What he took out this time was the papermaker's book. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shuigan Xiao. Chapter 917. That's right, Paper Craftsman's book. This is my first prop card, and it is also the prop card that truly opens my path to spiritual practice. Without this prop card, I would not have become the disciple of Mr. Song, nor would I have met the master, nor would I have learned how to worship Shankao. Maybe I will take another route. But now this prop card has little effect on me. It can only be regarded as a thought in the prop book. Even if I don't use the control technique of the Paper Craftsman's book, I can rely on the skills I learned from my master, Mr. Song. Paper pinch flowers are not much worse. In addition to the Paper Craftsman's book, there are also many prop cards selected by Su Tong. Magic Bell Star Eye Tribulation Cold Iron Gourd Space Fixing Mirror Black Brocade Robe God Control Colorful Play Master Vatican Advisor Bagua Tianji Compass Zuman Wine and Meat Juanwu Guanju Breath of Nature Relic. In the blink of an eye, he had taken most of the prop cards out of his prop book. In an instant, the prop book became much cleaner. And those who can stay are naturally the best among the best, such as Void Boots Pure Yang Sword 9 Immortals Cauldron Hus Riding Order Chien Model Sword Weapon and so on. In short, after most of the items in the prop book were cleared out, Su Tong did not get rid of all the prop cards, but temporarily put them all in a big box. This is your own industry, and no place is safer than here. After sorting out the prop book, Su Tong called out the guide spirit and asked, I have some titles I want to deal with. Do you have any recommendations? If not, he would have to go to the low-level exhibition area to have a look, but the guide spirit named 3 in one breath. Yes, there are 3 places, one is called Huanglongjing, one is the refining factory, and the other is the wishing tree. The guide spirit then told Su Tong the characteristics of these 3 places. Huanglong Well is a special well that existed when the exhibition was first established and is a native resource. You can throw in all the unnecessary title cards. 3 title cards can be exchanged for a new title. However, the title exchange depends entirely on luck, and the titles you can draw are all given randomly. Moreover, Huanglongjing is a free resource, so there will be a lot of people lining up there. The other is a refining factory. This factory is a special industry established by the Gun God Group. It is the only one in the entire exhibition and has no other branches. You can throw all the unnecessary titles in and extract the essence according to the rarity of the titles. After these essences reach a certain amount, they can be synthesized into a designated title card. Of course, the stronger the title to be synthesized, the greater the amount of essence required. As for the cost, the refining factory is free, but every time a title card is refined, a small part of the essence will be automatically charged as a fee. It's the gunslingers again, they have so many properties. When Su Tong heard this, he was inevitably surprised by the number of properties owned by the gun gods. Not only is the industry huge, but it is also a very rare special industry. If we follow the guide to attract elves, then the core members of the gunslingers will probably not worry about the title at all thanks to their refining factory. Su Tong naturally knew how powerful the title skills were. No wonder the Spear God Regiment was the leader of the 6 regiments and had strong capital. After Su Tong sighed inwardly, he signaled for the spirit to continue speaking. The third place is the Wishing Tree, which is also a very special place. It is said that as long as you sacrifice unnecessary prop cards to this tree, it will give you a seed. You only need to cultivate the seed carefully and wait slowly. When it grows up, it can gain more than 10 titles at once, but I don't know if it contains the titles you need. Hearing what the fairy said, Su Tong immediately became interested. If this is the case, then wouldn't it be possible for everyone to plant it on a large scale? As long as it forms a garden, there is no need for any title. In theory, this is the case, but each person can only receive 1 wishing tree seed, and the wishing tree is difficult to take care of. Whether it is watering, fertilizing, cutting leaves, etc., it is very troublesome. Once it is not taken care of well, it will easily wither, which may affect the quality at first, or directly stop the production at worst. If there is no highly skilled gardener, the risk is still very high. In the past, someone just made a small negligence, resulting in no harvest and compensation. Everything turned upside down. Of course, some people are unlucky and some people get rich, and there are also some people who carefully cultivate them and finally obtain extremely rare titles. How long does it take to grow a wishing tree? When Su Tong heard this, he immediately became interested and asked the spirit guide. 4 weeks is enough, except for some special circumstances. It is said that after some wishing trees have special titles, the time will be extended. Ha, then take me to the wishing tree. Su Tong patted his thigh and was ready to leave. I am not a good gardener, but as the saying goes, having an elder in the family is like having a treasure. Mei Xian, a big boss, has cultivated most of the trees in Qingcheng Mountain into century-old trees. Taking care of the wishing tree is not an easy task. Furthermore, even if I don't have anything else, Yin-Yang Spring and Thunder Liquid are all rare treasures in the world. If I use these things to water them, I believe that the probability of getting the title of high-level rare is still very high. Such a good thing cannot be enjoyed by one person. Doesn't it mean that one person can only receive 1 seed? Su Tong simply called Gao Zhou and the 3 of them in the team channel to go together. When the time comes, each of them will have 1 seed and send it to Mr. Mei. Take care of him together. Anyway, taking care of this kind of thing is just like taking care of children. There is basically no difference between taking care of 1 tree and taking care of 4 trees. Gu Zibai was in the store, so Su Tong came as soon as he called. It's not that he is lazy, but that although Gu Zibai has a direction for breakthrough, this road is too difficult, and it cannot be achieved in a short time. Chang Wugu was just watching the fun outside. He had agreed on a place with Su Tong and didn't plan to come back. This kid is getting wilder and wilder. As for Gao Zhou, you need to wait a moment. This guy is bargaining wildly in a prop card sales area. Since receiving Yan Zioqi's guidance, Gao Zhou has figured out his future development direction. Simply taking the zombie route is not a good choice for him. On the one hand, there are two melee masters in the team, Su Tong and Gu Zibai. Although he has a zombie body, the gap in melee combat is not that big. Secondly, he doesn't want to completely turn into a zombie. After all, he has a wife and children, and Gao Zhou also hopes to be with his family as a human being. In addition, he learned how to reverse life and death from the eldest princess. Now he has reached the 8th level and will soon reach the 9th level. When he reaches the 10th level, he can also reverse life and death like the eldest princess. After considering the above issues, Gao Zhou decided to take the first route. Zombies, poisons, and spells together became the summoning auxiliary route in the team, specializing in the development of group attack tactics. The only thing that made Gao Zhou complain was that he took this route, but the zombie inventory on hand was too small. When Su Tong heard this, he just smiled and did not respond to him. I thought to myself, if one day Gao Tianfang tells this kid that there are hundreds of zombie ancestors of the Gao family buried in the mountains behind his home, I wonder if this kid will just pry into his ancestral graves. Thinking about how Gao Zhou waved his hand one day and more than 100 ancestors crawled out of the earth, the scene is really exciting. Su Tong said he could wait for Gao Zhou, and then took Gu Zibai out of Lo Jinfang through the back door. When the two of them took a detour to the front door, they found that the originally deserted street at the front door suddenly became lively. There is still a long queue in front of the door. However, most of these people are second-rate dealers, queuing up here to buy the limited edition Ad 9 Reconstruction Elixir. As for the Ad 6 Reconstruction Pill, there is no limit, so everyone can buy it at any time, and there is no queue. Boss, the Ad 9 Reconstruction Elixir is so easy to sell, how about we strengthen it more? Gu Zibai looked at the scene and couldn't help but suggest to Su Tong. But Su Tong disagreed with this. Things are rare and valuable. It's okay to strengthen them more, but this habit is not good. The consumption habit is slowly developed. Give them an extremely rare Ad 9 from the beginning, the feeling of great loss, it will be us who will be relaxed in the future. 2. Gu Zibai thought about it and felt that it seemed to make sense. In fact, he didn't know that this was purely an excuse for Su Tong to avoid working overtime. The two of them followed the guide to the wishing tree. Before they had gone far, Su Tong received a prompt from the exhibition. Ding. Your property, Lo Jinfang, has been jointly complained about, disrupting the market and causing malicious competition. After verification, it was determined that Lo Jinfang does not exist and this complaint has been withdrawn. Ding. Your property, Lo Jinfang, has been jointly praised by everyone and won a conscientious trading banner. With this banner, your property tax will be reduced by 5 percentage points. Ding. You get the conscience banner, and you can use the fairy advertising for free once a month. Ding. You have been awarded the title of conscientious businessman. With this title, you can be exempted from the management fee of the industry for 1 year. Hearing the prompt, Su Tong was stunned for a few seconds and placed a hand on his heart. "Tou, what's wrong with you?" Seeing Su Tong suddenly stop leaving, Gu Zibai couldn't help but look back at him. Su Tong took a deep breath, patted his heart with one hand and said, "It's okay, I'll just touch my conscience." Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 918. Whether Su Tong has a conscience or not is not a matter of debate for the time being, but after this notice was issued, the pharmacy shopkeepers who were clamoring for arbitration at Lo Jinfang were dumbfounded. Can you not be dumbfounded? Not only did the arbitration fail, Lo Jinfang was also rated as a conscientious businessman. In the auditorium, a group of shopkeepers were stunned for a few seconds, and then someone threw a glass and cursed, "You are a damn conscience, where is the person in charge of the exhibition? I applied to see the person in charge of the exhibition, please come out." These big shopkeepers have the right to directly apply to see the person in charge of the exhibition. Normally, they would not use this power. After all, the person in charge would not show up easily if he had nothing to do. But today they have to say something. However, not long after the application notice was sent, I got a reminder. "Sorry, the person in charge of the exhibition is busy, please arrange your time reasonably." After receiving the tip from the exhibition, the big shopkeeper was immediately shocked. He is the big boss of Lianhua Pharmaceutical, and Lianhua Pharmaceutical pays at least 1 million script points in taxes and fees to the exhibition every quarter, but the person in charge refuses to see him. "I'm coming too. We must give you an explanation for this matter, otherwise it will never end." Other shopkeepers stood up and applied. It's just that almost all applications were rejected without exception. Now these big shopkeepers couldn't sit still. Their application for arbitration was rejected, and even the request for the person in charge to come forward to explain was rejected. Is the power behind Lo Jinfang so big? In fact, the person in charge of the power in Lo Jinfang knew in his heart that Mr. Taiwan could only be called a figure. As for Su Tong and others, they were not considered a power in the eyes of the person in charge. But the person in charge didn't see these shopkeepers, not because he felt guilty, but because he didn't know how to explain to these shopkeepers. Due to the restrictions of the rules, the person in charge could not tell these shopkeepers that the cost of these elixirs from Lo Jinfang was almost negligible, but the selling price had reached 10 times, or even close to 20 times the huge profit. The person in charge was dumbfounded when he saw this price. Now the charge of maliciously lowering prices against Lo Jinfang is simply not tenable. You can't say that you sold it too cheaply, but if it goes up a bit, sell it for 30 times the price. And even if it is 30 times higher, it seems that their price is still cheaper than that of other pharmacies. Therefore, it cannot be characterized as malicious competition, it is normal market trading, but the person in charge of these matters cannot explain it to these shopkeepers. As for conscientious merchants, this can be obtained by receiving applications from 70% of the players at the exhibition on the same day. This title has nothing to do with the person in charge. Seeing no explanation, the person in charge simply rejected all the shopkeepers' applications. After seeing that their joint application failed to pass, the faces of all the shopkeepers looked like frost-beating eggplants. Buzz. At this time, the door outside was pushed open, and a person stepped in. "Dear brothers, I'm sorry that Zhang is a little late." The person walking outside the door was none other than Old Man Zhang, the chief steward of the gun gods. "Oh, Mr. Zhang, you are finally here." When the shopkeepers saw Mr. Zhang, they immediately stepped forward to greet him. Someone quickly grabbed Mr. Zhang's hand. "Mr. Zhang, what is the origin of Lo Jinfang? If he does this, how can we do business in the future?" Hearing this, Mr. Zhang also sighed, waved his hand to signal everyone to sit down, and then said, "To be honest with you, this Lo Jinfang has an amazing origin. I can't tell who it is specifically, but this time the reconstruction pill sold is just an appetizer, there will be more pills later. I have already prepared for the worst, prepared 200 million in funds, and plan to fight Lo Jinfang to the death." In order to prove his determination, Mr. Zhang directly showed his 200 million capital note. Seeing this note, everyone couldn't help but look at each other. Unexpectedly, Mr. Zhang, who had always been gentle, turned out to be serious this time. Just when everyone was stunned, someone came back to his senses and asked, "What does Mr. Zhang plan to do?" A capital pool of 200 million is not a small sum. Even though the gunslingers are rich, they cannot afford to spend such a large amount of money to fight to the death with the other party. They cannot do this. Seeing this, Mr. Zhang continued with a solemn look, I am determined to sink the boat, but it would be difficult for my family to win this battle alone, so I came here today to see what you guys think. If everyone is willing to work together, to advance or retreat, Sangxian Pharmacy will join forces with everyone to set up a joint pharmaceutical association, share resources and set prices together. We will lower costs and lower prices together. Just his Lo Jinfang, I don't believe how long he can last. After saying that, Mr. Zhang changed his tone. Of course, if someone doesn't want to get involved, I can understand it. It's just that my ugly words have come to the front. This time our gunsling group has lifted the lid on everyone and fought with the other party. If we lose, I'm afraid you will no longer have a place in Zanhui pharmaceutical industry. Mr. Zhang's expression looked really angry, and he was completely prepared to risk his life. While everyone was shocked, they were also a little bit happy. Mr. Zhang, do you mean, to establish a trade union? However, there were also people who captured the key information very keenly. Yes, that's what it means. Once a pharmaceutical union is established, we can rate all drugs and customize prices based on the rating standards. If prices are violated, we can use the name of the pharmaceutical trade union to force the exhibition to issue an improvement notice. Moreover, the medicinal garden specialties and medicinal herb resources behind everyone can also be traded at a fair price for mutual benefit. Once the medicinal association is established, these 200 million in funds will be transferred to the account of the pharmaceutical union and become a reserve fund for establishing the union. Mr. Zhang pointed to the 200 million bills on the table with a serious look and said to everyone. Now many shopkeepers feel embarrassed. In fact, some people have proposed the establishment of a pharmaceutical association a long time ago, but who wants to be controlled by others. So although there are many benefits to this matter, very few people are interested in it. But at this moment, everyone was inevitably a little excited. Seeing that everyone was silent, Mr. Zhang's face darkened. He immediately stood up, put away the golden tickets on the table, and walked out the door. I know what you are thinking. Old man, let me make it clear. This is a medicine meeting. It's up to you whether you are willing to join or not. Old man, I will only wait for you for 3 days. If there is no reply in 3 days, all the elixirs on the shelves of our Sangxian pharmacy will be sold at a 20% discount. This time let us, Sangxian pharmacy and Lo Jinfang fight to the end. After saying that, he threw down a copy of the medical meetings regulations and walked out without looking back. When he walked out of the gate, he didn't take his own exclusive car. Instead, he activated his disguise with a few cronies and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Mr. Zhang, will they really agree? The cronies following Mr. Zhang asked carefully. After hearing the inquiry from his confidants, Mr. Zhang just smiled calmly, yes, definitely yes. Let's go to Lo Jinfang. I want to add some more firewood to the fire. Is this the wishing tree? Why don't there seem to be many people? Gu Zibai looked at the ancient blue tree in front of him and couldn't help but raise his head and look around. Speaking of which, I heard that there are countless people queuing up at Huanglongjing every day. Some people even queue up first thing after coming back from the script world, but when they are about to enter the next script world, they still don't get their turn. If you want to join the team as soon as possible, you can only spend money, and spend a lot of money. The reason for this is precisely because there is an organization called the Scalper Group at the exhibition. It is said that it is a deputy group under the Demon, one of the 6 groups. The main industry of this group is scalpers, taking sides, reselling the price difference, and doing business without capital. Don't underestimate this industry. The overall combat effectiveness of the Scalper Group is not high, but it is the most profitable subgroup of Demon. It is said that several other team members of Demon will temporarily transfer to the Scalper Group to complete tasks after completing their missions. Earn commission. So, Don't underestimate these players. In reality, there is still some legal control, but there is no such thing here. Want to get rich? If you buy a criminal law book in reality, it will be as easy as getting rich. Because it's not cost effective. No matter how many prop cards you give to this tree, it will only give you one seed. How many you can plant depends on your ability. Except for a few people who come to try their luck, or those who are completely sure. Most people wouldn't come here. Based on his own understanding, Chang Wazi felt that it was not cost-effective to come to the wishing tree. It was no wonder that few people came here. It's not absolute. The more props cards are given, the higher the probability of getting the best seeds. The guide spirit corrected Chang Wuxiu's statement on the side. Su Tong doesn't care about that many. He has a lot of title and prop cards. Apart from the retrograde series, the Venerable, and Qiao Qian's blessing, he plans to throw out all the other titles, at least to give his own props. Make room for the book. So he said, then let me try it first. As he said that, he walked to the wishing tree, called out the props book, and glanced at the title cards in the props book. I have to say that there were not enough slots in his props book. There was a reason. With a glance, the title cards, the number is really quite large. Except for the Rebel series and a small number of title cards, Su Tong sacrificed all the other title cards to the wishing tree in front of him. Ding, do you want to sacrifice all the Devil Haters, Hunters, Pluto, Blacklist, Defender, Righteousness, Chaos, Sequence 4, Lawful Ones, Vermilion, Sect, Wine and Meat as sacrifices, sacrifice to the wishing tree? Yes. With Su Tong's confirmation, these title cards were immediately peeled off from the prop book and turned into dots of fluorescence and integrated into the wishing tree in front of them. Not long after, a light blue flower bloomed on the wishing tree. After the flower withered, a fruit fell into Su Tong's hand. Here is the wishing fruit. As long as you plant it, a wishing tree will grow. As for whether it is the best seed, it is hard to tell. No wonder everyone is not happy to come here. After all, this thing is too risky. It's a pity that Li Bo, the mascot, can't enter the high-end exhibition area yet. Otherwise, let this kid try his luck, and maybe there will be a surprise. Su Tong thought of Li Bo's luck and believed that this kid must have made a lot of money in the last script world. When he went back later, he happened to go to the general exhibition area to see him. Thinking of this, Su Tong motioned to Chang Wugu and Gu Zibai to give it a try. They didn't have to be the same as him, they just needed to get one seed. After waiting for a while, Gao Zhou finished his work and came over to gather. He also tried to exchange a seed and handed it to Su Tong. After getting the seeds, Su Tong didn't stop, and after telling them to help this little girl, he returned to the general exhibition area. I called Li Bo in the team channel and asked about the fat man's income in the last script world. Li Bo didn't hide anything. After telling him what he had gained, Su Tong had to say that this fat man's luck was really incredible. He actually got 5 prop cards in one breath, 3 of which were top quality, and 2 more. The title card is definitely a breakthrough in terms of strength and quality for Li Bo. However, Li Bo has not yet formed his own fighting style, so Su Tong does not interfere with the prop cards he chooses, as long as the fat man feels comfortable. For you. Su Tong threw a bottle of reconstruction pill to Li Bo. There were about 20 reconstruction pills in it. Take it and sell it. You can sell it for as much as you want. The money you sell will be regarded as the world of the script. It's a reward for you, but don't sell it too cheaply, at least no less than 500 script points. Li Bo was startled, not realizing that such a good thing could happen. Immediately moved, he wanted to give Su Tong a big hug, but Su Tong jumped sideways and avoided it. After telling Li Bo not to reveal his identity when selling medicine, Su Tong completely withdrew from the exhibition and returned to the real world. After returning to reality, Su Tong did not stop, but followed the call to the space between reality and reality. After his figure escaped into reality, he opened the door and went home. The door opens. The familiar black water was no longer in front of him, which made Su Tong a little uncomfortable. I always feel as if something is missing after the original Blackwater River in front of my home is gone. But the old man is still there, sitting in front of the door, playing a straw rope game with the goddess. The old man and the young man look very harmonious. When the goddess saw Su Tong coming, she jumped up and ran towards Su Tong, saying, "Brother, you are finally back. Grandpa is getting tired of waiting these days." The grandfather mentioned by the goddess is naturally Master Shuigui. Su Tong nodded, took out a candy and gave it to the goddess, then walked to the old Taoist side and winked, "How did you go this time?" The master took Lao Tao with him to deal with Ruturo, so Lao Tao naturally knew the specific situation. "Hey, this guy Ruturo is in bad luck. If he wants to cause trouble for you, I'm afraid he will have to wait a while longer." The old man sneered and told Su Tong about Ruturo. He didn't know the details of the specific process, because the interrogation of Ruturo was personally presided over by Emperor Fengdu and Du Ziren, and it was not his turn to watch. But Ruturo relied on himself as a close confidant of the Blood River cult leader, and was lawless, even daring to defy the emperor's decree. This made Emperor Fengdu angry. Ruturo was used to pretending to be powerful. He was so angry at the time that he spoke without thinking. He also didn't want to think about who Emperor Fengdu was, the Emperor of Bian, the leader of the 5 emperors and great demon kings, and the real name CEO of Mingtu. Apart from the Empress and the Prince, he was the biggest in Mingtu. The leader of Blood River usually only dared to talk a few words to satisfy his cravings. If he saw the great emperor getting angry, he would not rashly stand up for him. As a result, Ruturo was mercilessly destroyed by the emperor, fell directly from the great god status to the minor god status, and was also punished to go to the Wangchuan River to work as a handyman for 600 years. That's all. Although the punishment sounds severe, Su Tong still feels a little bit confused. Be content. Destroying his first level god status is even more uncomfortable than killing him. What's more, working as a handyman for 600 years is not that comfortable. After all, the emperor still cares about the face of the leader of the Blood River. This matter can punish at this level, it is already top level. The old Taoist took this matter lightly, but Su Tong was not that comfortable. Then he pointed at himself, "Then your compensation? You go to your master yourself, and I didn't take your compensation." The old man rolled his eyes, pointed at the door behind him and said, "Yes." Su Tong stopped asking when he saw this, opened the door and walked into the courtyard. "I'm back." "You brat, you still know how to come back." Mr. Song was sitting in the pavilion reading a book. When he heard the voice, he said without raising his head, "Go directly into the backyard. Your master has been waiting for you for several days." "Okay." Su Tong nodded, then turned and ran towards the backyard where the master lived. It just so happened that Mr. May was also in the backyard, and I had to leave it to him to plant the wishing tree. When they entered the backyard, they saw the master standing by the fish pond fishing. Seeing Su Tong coming, he couldn't help but said angrily, "You son of a bitch, I thought you really didn't care at all." Upon hearing what the master said, Su Tong immediately showed a flattering smile, picked up the tea on the table and brought it to the master. "Master, I have been delayed by something recently, and I am looking forward to the stars and the moon." "You are back." "Ah." Seeing his careless look, Shuigui snorted coldly, took the teacup and took a sip before continuing, "I've told you everything." "I told you, but I didn't tell you everything." Su Tong reached out and took the teacup. "Not satisfied? Not satisfied? This guy Ruturo has clearly violated the prohibition of Hades. He wants to sacrifice a whole world with blood and slaughter countless people. I am not a righteous person, but I think this punishment is unfair." Su Tong said in a deep voice, "Besides, I don't want to be a puppet, and I don't want to be manipulated by them anymore." The master was not surprised when he heard what Su Tong said. He took out a notebook from his sleeve and handed it to Su Tong. "It's for you." "What?" Looking at the book in the master's hand, Su Tong took it over with confusion. His eyes widened and he exclaimed in surprise, "This is a script." The master didn't respond. Su Tong opened the script and scanned it at a glance. This script is more like a record than a script, because the names of several players and their final endings are marked on it. The outcome for these players was not good. 3 died, and although the other 3 completed the main plot, only 1 returned, and the other 2 became vessels for the gods. This is the first time Su Tong has seen a script in which every player's participation process is recorded in detail. It wasn't until Su Tong finished reading the script in his hand that the master on the side said, "Opportunities are never given by others, but earned by oneself." If Taoist Mai Hua didn't cause trouble, how could he escape from the 3 realms? Not in the 5 elements. Since you want an opportunity, this is your opportunity. It depends on whether you dare to fight for it. "Master, what do you mean, you want us to enter this script again?" Su Tong was very smart, and after seeing this script, he already had a vague guess in his heart. "Yes, you want to jump out of the chessboard, but you don't have the strength now. Any of the gods and demons in the sky can crush you to death with 1 finger. Even if you are an inferior goalkeeper like Rotoro, if he comes in his true form, you will if you have a slight chance of winning. Don't think that you really have some means because the 9 immortals cauldron in your hand made Po Meng suffer a dull loss. Po Meng is just a soup maker. If you don't believe me, try making ox-headed horse noodles instead." The master rarely teaches Su Tong a lesson. Generally, the master is responsible for the evildoers. Today's abnormality can also show that the master attaches great importance to this matter. I just heard the master continue to say, "You have neither the strength nor the temperament of Taoist Mai Hua. There is only one way to fight and find a way for yourself." As the master spoke, he put his hand on Su Tong's shoulder and stared at him seriously. "My child, this time your opponent is the god. Re-enter the script and play the role of the dead player in the script. Win the battle. You are the only one qualified to take this road. If you lose the fight, Master will accompany you and we will go to hell together. Master, do you still have to share in this?" Su Tong was not frightened by the master's eyes. Instead, he shook the script in his hand and asked Shuigui. When the master heard this, a slight sneer appeared on his thin face. "No one dares to bet on you without a few chips. I am an old man. If I don't fight for your master, I will fight for you, my disciple. Otherwise, when will it ever come out? Now that we've all bet on this, we still have chips that we haven't bet on, so don't hide them. If you don't play at this time, you will lose even if you win." Su Tong squinted and looked in the direction of the pavilion in the front yard. Shuigui raised his brows slightly when he heard this, but looked towards the kitchen and nodded. "When the time comes, your master's bargaining chip will be the trump card for us to make a comeback." Mr. Song, who was studying, suddenly felt a chill on his back. After his body shivered, he couldn't help but look back in the direction of the backyard in confusion. Strange, why did the weather suddenly get cold today? Infinite script killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 919. Mr. May, take a look at these 4 seeds. After discussing the future strategy with the master, he went to find Mei Xian along the way. Handing the 4 seeds to him, Mei Xian looked at them for a while and then smiled and said, "These 4 seeds are strange, but they are not a problem. I will plant these 4 seeds for you in the back mountain later. Just let me take care of everything." Back mountain? Su Tong scratched his head. He had never been to that place before, but the so-called back mountain was spliced together by the gravel that mountain ghosts kept moving from the underworld. He didn't know if it was suitable there. The most important thing was that it was like this. Extraordinary. Su Tong still hopes that Mr. May can take care of it personally. Seeing Su Tong's concerns, Mr. May said with a smile, "Don't worry, I have transformed the back mountain. It is a good place with feng shui. If you have leisure, you might as well go there and have a look." Hearing what Mr. May said, Su Tong really became interested. You must know that Mr. May's transformation of the mountain is amazing. Qing Cheng Mountain has a long history of blessings, and most of the credit goes to Mr. May. If he hadn't protected Qing Cheng Mountain for so many years, how could Qing Cheng Mountain become the first Taoist paradise? Seeing the proud look on Mr. May's face at this moment, how could Su Tong dampen his interest? He immediately nodded in agreement. "Just in time, I also want to bring some drinks out, so we might as well go and have a look together." The two of them walked towards the back mountain as they spoke. This was Su Tong's first time to come to the back mountain. When he actually walked into the back mountain, he was shocked by the scenery in front of him. The mountain at the back doesn't seem big, but the peaks are staggered and have formed a faint momentum. It's not clear that this mountain is spliced together by mountain ghosts. He opened his eyes and took another look at Kimin. I saw a whirlwind forming between the mountains, which seemed to suck the surrounding evil spirits into the whirlpool. This pattern is so strange. It seems to be the qi gathering pattern of feng shui, but it's not very similar. Su Tong didn't know much about feng shui, but the book his master showed him included Bashan Pian written by Huang Miaoying in the Song dynasty. The book says, if qi is not in harmony with the mountains, there will be no vegetation. If qi is not gathered, people will not be in harmony. If qi is not gathered, there will be no situation. This qi gathering bureau is said to be a good feng shui pattern, but since it is connected to the yin cao, the qi gathering bureau seems to only attract evil spirits. Over time, this place may become a vicious hole. After hearing what Su Tong asked, Mr. May immediately laughed. "Young master, you only know one thing, but not the other." Mr. May explained to Su Tong, "There is a note in the wings of the Burial Sutra that turbid qi accumulates and stagnates, yin qi accumulates injuries, cold qi accumulates frost, evil qi accumulates stones, and later it is noted that turbid qi can be dispersed and yin qi can be blocked, cold air can be transformed, and evil air can be refined. I arranged the situation of gathering qi, which is to use evil air as fuel and refine it into vitality to nourish the mountains and rivers." After speaking, Mr. May pointed to several inconspicuous mountains and said, "I have arranged 8 mountains around them to form a pattern of 8 peaks. After a few years, these mountains will be indestructible and self-contained." A trend. Hearing what Mr. May said was so mysterious, Su Tong couldn't help but feel weird, but he didn't dwell on this issue and left professional matters to professionals. Mr. May is the real master of feng shui. As a layman, it is better not to do the same thing to avoid embarrassment. So he smiled and said to Mr. May, "I have learned a lesson." "Young master, why are you so polite?" "Today, young master is here. I see that the pure yang qi in young master's body is getting stronger and stronger. I wonder how young master should practice in the future." After going around in a circle, Mr. May finally asked what he was most concerned about. Su Tong knew what Mr. May was worried about, so he said, "I have innate Taoist foundation, so naturally I have to work hard on Yinshu. However, Yinshu alone is not enough. After all, although Yinshu has endless changes, it is missing a few. It's very practical, so I want to focus on it first and slowly combine Yanshu with Chunyang sword technique step by step." After hearing Su Tong's plan, Mr. May suddenly felt much relieved. Just as this is the case, Taoist Mai Hua once said that although Yanshu is wonderful, it is not an ideal method to major in. The young master's thoughts are somewhat consistent with Taoist Mai Hua. Hearing Mr. May mention Taoist Mai Hua, Su Tong was silent for a moment and asked, "Mr. May, why did Taoist Mai Hua make such a fuss in the first place? Do you know about this?" If Taoist Mai Hua made such a fuss just to jump out of the chessboard, Su Tong always felt something was wrong. And what he wanted to know more was how Taoist Mai Hua jumped out of the three realms, whether he was dead or alive in the end, and the painting in the Mei family ancestral hall made Su Tong always feel that Taoist Mai Hua did not die. This. Mr. Mei thought for a moment and then said, I understand what you mean, but there are some things that you still need to see for yourself, but there is one thing I still want to tell you. What? Su Tong looked at Mr. Mei curiously. When Taoist Mai Hua was buried, the coffin was empty. Empty. This sentence shocked Su Tong, thinking, is Taoist Mai Hua still alive? This is not impossible. Considering the strength of Taoist Mai Hua, it is not difficult even if he is still alive. But if he were still alive, would he just watch the plum blossom village he built being emptied by himself? Or, is it really him in that painting? Various possibilities flashed through Su Tong's mind. At this time, Mr. Mei stopped and said, let's just go here. This is a good place. Mr. Mei took out 4 wishing seeds and saw the soil rolling. Thick rhizomes emerged from the soil and gradually cracked. Mr. Mei put the 4 seeds into the vines. Then the vines closed up and dug into the soil again. During this time, I will take care of them according to their needs, so you don't have to worry. Mr. Mei plants them on his own rhizomes and can sense all the delicate changes in the growth process of these seeds. For this reason, I am afraid there is no more professional gardener than Mr. Mei in the world. Seeing this, Su Tong had nothing to worry about, so he specially called out the great Sun Ruyi furnace and took out a part of the thunder effusion. Although thunder fluid is formed by thunder and lightning, it contains powerful life force. Combined with the yin-yang spring obtained from the back mountain of Yushan Mountain, it is enough to ensure that these 4 wishing trees grow stably here. Coupled with Mr. Mei's careful care, Su Tong couldn't help but start to look forward to what surprises these 4 wishing trees would bring him in 4 weeks. Su Tong then went to the wine cellar in the back mountain and took out a jar of century-old wine. This jar of wine is a fine wine that has been soaked in golden pine nuts for a period of time. After drinking it, it can increase the strength by 20% and temporarily obtain a state called overall constitution. Explosive special passive blessing. Total physique explosion. After entering the excited state, the potential of the whole body will be exploded. The more you drink, the stronger the explosion will be. Note, although the wine is good, don't be greedy. It seems that the golden pine nuts given by the emperor are quite effective. They have been soaked for only a long time and they already have such magical effects. If they have been soaked for 100 years, wouldn't they become immortals after drinking them? Su Tong put away the jar of fine wine and planned to take it back to try to see if it could be strengthened. After putting away the drinks, Su Tong and Mr. Mei slowly walked down the back mountain. They also encountered a mountain ghost on the way. This guy seemed to be tirelessly carrying huge stones back from a distance, constantly adding bricks and tiles to the back mountain. Mr. Mei told Su Tong with a smile, your master drew a big cake for him and asked him to be the mountain god in the back mountain. As big as the back mountain is, he will have as much territory as possible. Ha ha ha, it's not a big deal. At least the master keeps his word. When the time comes, I can still make him a little mountain god. After the two walked down the mountain talking and laughing, the master's wife had already prepared a table of meals and was waiting for him to come back to eat. The food on this table was still quite fresh. On the table, the mistress did not eat it herself, but kept picking up dishes for the master and master. The goddess on the side was holding the bowl and eating happily. I have to say that master, this woman, is really capable of working in the hall and in the kitchen. The key is to be able to fight and carry. No wonder the master is crying and shouting for the master to stay. It is not unreasonable. While eating, Su Tong asked his wife about Chongyang Palace. When the Chongyang Palace was mentioned, the look on the master's face was obviously unnatural. She had obviously suffered a big loss in the Chongyang Palace. She spoke in a squeaky voice, and then she patted her head directly. There are still steamed buns on the pot, I'll go take a look. After saying that, he walked away quickly. Senior brother, you want to go to Chongyang Palace? At this time, the goddess raised her head, her watery eyes dancing. Yes, I kind of want to go. Su Tong felt that he had already cultivated the Pure Yang sword code to the 8th level, which was very close to the 9th level. If coupled with the power of Wuxiang and transformed into a Pure Yang body, it would be enough to bring the power of the Pure Yang sword to full play. Extreme. But he was not satisfied with that alone, so he wanted to go to Chongyang Palace to see if he could get some other gains. I advise you to be careful. There is an old Taoist priest in the mountain behind Chongyang Palace who is very vicious. As Tianu said, she glanced in the direction of the kitchen. Su Tong looked at Tianu and understood immediately. Although the girl didn't say anything, it seemed that she had said everything. It seems that the foundation of the three religions is really unfathomable. Even someone like the master's wife can suffer a big loss and come back in disgrace. Su Tong secretly thought that if he didn't go to Chongyang Palace, he might as well go for a walk in Longhu Mountain. The old Taoist in Longhu Mountain was very enthusiastic about him last time. Although Yanchu and Taoism are different, the two families have the same talisman. In fact, they have different approaches but similar effects. In his wild thoughts, Su Tong patted his butt and said goodbye to his master and master after eating and drinking. When Su Tong returned to the exhibition, Mei walked outside the door and said, "You are finally back. I have a business deal that I can't make up my mind about, so you should negotiate it." Su Tong opened the door and looked at Mei in confusion. "Business?" "Yes, the other party's request is a bit strange, and it seems that this person has dealt with you before. Although he doesn't know your identity, he insists on waiting for you here." "That's it?" Su Tong held his chin in his hand, not knowing who the other party was, so he simply followed Mei to the living room on the second floor to have a look. As soon as he went upstairs, Su Tong was stunned. "Mr. Zhang." Su Tong was really surprised. He didn't expect that the guest mentioned by Mei was Mr. Zhang, who looked at the moon and night blooming night flowers. "Ha ha ha, little friend, we meet again." Mr. Zhang stood up from his chair with a smile. Su Tong secretly screamed strangely. He didn't seem to provoke Mochizuki Epiphyllum this time. What was this old guy doing here? Although he was confused, Su Tong still greeted the other party politely for a while, and did not take the initiative to ask, just waiting for Mr. Zhang to speak on his own. However, Mr. Zhang's patience exceeded Su Tong's expectations. The two chatted here and there. After chatting for a long time, Mr. Zhang finally slowly and tentatively asked, "Little brother, turn decay into something magical. I admire the method very much, but I don't know if it's just that, or does it have the ability to create the universe?" "Mr. Zhang, do you need me to do anything?" Su Tong raised his eyebrows slightly and pointed out Mr. Zhang's thoughts directly. Zhang Lao took out a bottle of elixir from his sleeve and handed it to Su Tong. Su Tong took it and threw it into the prop book. It turned out to be a bottle of auxiliary elixir. 9-ox rhinoceros pill. After taking it, you will gain the power of 9 oxen and rhino elephants. Duration, 30 minutes. Although there are few entries about the elixir, its effect is surprisingly good. Those who consume it are equivalent to increasing the power of 9 cows, a rhino, and an elephant. Such auxiliary elixirs are also expensive, and more expensive than the therapeutic elixirs such as reconstruction pill. After all, if this kind of elixir is used well, it can turn things around at critical moments. Looking at the elixir, Su Tong probably understood what the old man wanted to do. No wonder Mr. Zhang could think of the future main business of Lo Jinfang so quickly. After all, the matter of the good luck elixir came first, and with the addition of the recreation elixir, he could, if you don't understand what's going on, then it's called a ghost. Thinking of this, Su Tong motioned to his sister to take down the elixir and calculate the cost of strengthening it first. Think of it as the trial profit stage before Lo Jinfang officially enters its main business. Mr. Zhang wants me to strengthen this elixir to some extent. Su Tong asked calmly. To the extent that your reconstruction elixir is strengthened, this elixir will be strengthened to the same extent. Mr. Zhang said with narrowed eyes. Su Tong was stunned when he heard this. Before he could ask, Mei had already returned with the calculated price. Su Tong took a look at the price list and found that the enhanced price of the pill was not cheap at all. Just strengthening it for the first time requires 130 script points. If you want to strengthen it to level 6, a total of 8190 script points are needed. Su Tong handed the quotation directly to Mr. Zhang. Seeing such a high price, Mr. Zhang didn't waste any time and signaled Su Tong to try strengthening one first, then he directly asked the followers around him to pay for the transaction. This operation left Su Tong a little confused. But what came next made him even more confused. After the 9 ox rhino elephant pill strengthened to add 6 was delivered, Mr. Zhang picked it up and examined it, and a look of satisfaction suddenly appeared on his face. Okay, it turned decay into something magical. It's really amazing. I plan to process 1000 pills like this. Zhang Lao waved his hand and placed a box on the table. Hiss. Looking at the neat pills in the box, Su Tong and Mei were both shocked by Mr. Zhang's generosity. This is an 8 million business deal, and in Mei's quotation, the first level enhancement has already included an enhancement fee of 30 script points. Don't underestimate the fact that this is only 30 script points. Under the influence of geometric multiplication, the price has increased more than 10 times. In other words, a pill has a strengthening cost of 8,190, but the actual cost is 6,300 points. From this 8 million business, their profit was already as high as 1.89 million points. It was a pure business without capital. Even Su Tong was shocked when he thought about it. He knew that Lo Jinfang was destined to make a lot of money, but he didn't expect that the huge profits would be so astonishing when the first business came to his door. Just when Su Tong was surprised, Mr. Zhang's next words made Su Tong even more confused. But I have a request. Your Lo Jinfang will sell this batch of elixirs on my behalf, label it with your Lo Jinfang's label, and declare it to the public as your Lo Jinfang's new elixirs. There will be a limit of 5 pills per day. What's the price? As long as 1,800 points are enough, I will give you 100 of these 1,000 pills to digest internally as a reward. Did this old man take the wrong medicine? After Su Tong heard what old man Zhang said, his first reaction was that this old man was crazy. Not mentioning the cost of these elixirs themselves, just the cost of strengthening them has already shocked people's jaws. In his opinion, these elixirs must be sold for at least 12,000 to be considered profitable. As for the price of 1,080, it is not enough to just throw the money into the water and hear the sound. This had to make Su Tong wonder whether the old man was trying to trick him. For a moment, I could only look at Mei aside. But Mei was obviously fooled by old man Zhang's operation, and she said blankly, "We don't do credit." Ha 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 ha, of course, for such a big business, who dares to pay on credit? I'll pay in cash. As he spoke, old man Zhang happily took out the golden ticket worth 8 million script points and placed it on the table. This golden ticket is exchanged from the exhibition to facilitate transactions between merchants in the exhibition. Only with so many script points can such a golden ticket be issued. Mei picked up the golden ticket and shook it, and the golden ticket turned into golden light and disappeared, and there were 8 million more script points in Lo Jinfang's accounts. Good guy, Su Tong used to use money to throw money at others. Now I was hit hard with money, which made me dizzy. I have seen owners burning money, but I have never seen anyone burning money like this. If there's no problem, let's sign the contract. Old man Zhang urged with narrowed eyes. Only after the two signed the contract and Su Tong repeatedly confirmed that there was no problem, Mr. Zhang said to Su Tong, "We are very happy to cooperate this time, but this is just the beginning. I look forward to our next cooperation." Su Tong nodded numbly. Seeing that old man Zhang was leaving, he finally couldn't help but ask, "Old man, you don't ask, this is how our deal is done. Don't ask me why, I won't tell you if you ask me." Old man Zhang couldn't see Su Tong's expression, but he could also guess the shock on Su Tong's face at this moment, and his heart was filled with pride, and it was inevitable that he would slap him hard. However, old man Zhang might never have imagined that Su Tong's next words would choke him to death. Su Tong shook his head, "No, I just want to ask if you are dissatisfied with your son. As for throwing money away like this and not giving it to him." Old man Zhang twitched the corner of his mouth and snorted coldly, "I want you to take care of it." With that said, he hurried away with the people. Only after the old man Zhang left did Su Tong look at Ame. "This old thief is not trying to trick us. If there is no arbitration, we will still have to pay. No, we are selling on behalf of others. Even if we apply for arbitration, it will be useless. At most, we will not be allowed to continue selling. But the strategy to deal with this kind of thing is also very simple. 1,800 points of elixir, and 9 ox rhino elephant pill as a gift. Just give it away, we won't breach the contract no matter what we do." Ame wrote the contract herself, and she knew the terms and conditions best in her heart. There was absolutely no risk left to Lo Jinfang. But precisely because of this, they couldn't figure out what this old man Zhang was going to do. After thinking about it, Su Tong simply slapped his forehead, "Whatever, as long as we make money, let Gu Zibai and the others come back. Let's work overtime tonight and go all out." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 920. 9 Ox Rhinoceros Pill at 6. After eating it, you can gain the power of the 9 bulls and rhinoceros and gain the passive skill Frenzy. Crazy Battle. Special passive. During the duration of the drug effect, the greater your combat pressure, the more your strength will increase, up to 50%. Duration of effect, 40 minutes. As soon as Lo Jinfang's new drug came out, everyone in the exhibition was amazed. The blessing of the power of the 9 bulls, rhinos, and elephants is already very powerful in itself. Coupled with the passive skill Frenzy Fighting, this thing is simply a magical medicine for leapfrogging duels. What shocked people the most was that such a precious medicine was only sold for 1,800 script points. Isn't this a free gift? Whoever grabs it can sell it for 5,000 script points. I'm afraid there will be people rushing to buy it. Conscientious, what a conscientious businessman. Everyone shouted for conscience. These days, such conscientious businesses are rare. Some people even shouted that everyone should like Lo Jinfang again. The only thing that made everyone feel unhappy was that Lo Jinfang had imposed a sales limit on this elixir. They could only sell 1,000 pills per day. Once sold, they would have to wait for the next batch. Everyone wants to buy, only reservations are accepted. According to Lo Jinfang, it's not that the production method of this elixir is too time-consuming and labor-intensive, and the labor force is not enough, so it only sells 1,000 pills a day, and there is no more. For a time, everyone could only go to make reservations. But what they didn't know was where the 1,000 pills came from. Su Tong meant that they could just give out 1 or 2 pills every day. They would buy the remaining 3 pills themselves, throw them out and sell them at 10 times the price. After all, others don't know the cost of this elixir. How can Su Tong not know it? Su Tong is not happy to work hard for himself and make other people's business cheaper, So instead of letting others do scalping, it is more cost-effective to do it himself. When everyone sees the elixir flowing out on the market, they know that someone has indeed bought the elixir. Who can ask their Lo Jinfang to check the accounts? As for whether Mr. Zhang is satisfied with this method, that is another matter. It is not written in the contract that they cannot buy these pills themselves. Although Aimee didn't know what Old Man Zhang was going to do, she already understood from Old Man Zhang's words that this old guy wasted no time in spending a lot of money, just because he wanted to use the pill as a weapon to create panic in them. So they only need to ensure that these elixirs are circulating in the market and that Lo Jinfang sells them at ultra-low prices. Needless to say, Su Tong's move was really ruthless. He took both sides of the business without capital. At least half of the 8 million business went into his own stomach. Oh, by the way, the money for buying and selling elixirs belongs to Su Tong and his friends, so the money will not go into Lo Jinfang's account, so there is no need for Mr. Fentai to pay a dime. The windfall came from heaven at such a speed that Su Tong II and others were so happy that they almost flew into the air. With the money, the transformation speed of Gao Zhou and the other 3 people increased a lot. I heard that there was a large-scale high-end prop card auction today. After Su Tong gave them a day off, these 3 guys went to participate in it. As for him, he didn't have much need for prop cards. Instead, he chose to retreat at home while carefully reading the script given to him by his master. The story of this script is not complicated. Simply put, it is about an internal struggle within the main section. Some disciples escaped with the innate treasure and were chased and seriously injured. A group of soldiers accidentally rescued one of them and obtained part of the treasure. Then this soldier was inexplicably involved in the struggle between rivers and lakes. In the end, he finally fought to the death to obtain the treasure and presented it only to the emperor. The main storyline is that simple. But the difficulty was not low. Su Tong carefully studied the details of the script. Among them are Buddhist monks, cult immortals, the 4 great masters of Longhu Mountain, and many top masters from all over the world. There are even forces in the court. This treasure is actually just an introduction, triggering a struggle between the court and the Jianghu. They, the little pawns, are caught in the middle. They not only have to fight head-on with the people in the Jianghu, but also beware of the black hands in the court. Difficulties are secondary. The most difficult problem is that the background of this era is extremely vague, and it is an era that is deep in the realm and completely distorted. The power of the court and the methods of all parties are very powerful. There are 2 gods behind the scenes who are secretly guiding the situation. The team that entered the scenario world in the last round was almost completely destroyed in the end because they were unaware of the existence of these 2 gods. The master's meaning is very simple. His opponent not only has to face many forces in the script world, but the more important task is to kill or capture these 2 gods. Using the god's head to provide himself with the qualifications to jump out of the chessboard, just like now, he can get extremely detailed content in a script world, and even several major events that happened in the script world will be marked in detail. This is already the first step out of the chessboard. As long as you dare to fight, you will slowly get more and more information, and gradually gain the qualifications to jump out of the chessboard step by step. After studying the copy for a while, Su Tong began to focus on practicing the Chunyang sword code. He had to cultivate the Pure Yang sword code to the 9th level of perfection in the shortest possible time. Without the drag bottle of Emoda, although Su Tong is not a Pure Yang body, he is truly able to make the Pure Yang energy flow through his whole body, forming a perfect fit with his Earth immortal body without any flaws. This also gave Su Tong some enlightenment in his heart. The difficulty Quanzhen Pure Yang lineage rejects all dharma, talismans, and elixirs, all for the sake of keeping his body pure and flawless, so that he can practice the Pure Yang sword code to its peak. When I reach the 9th level of the Pure Yang sword code, I will go find Yan Zioki and give it a try. Thinking of this, Su Tong had a thought in his mind and summoned the assistance of the Ruyi furnace. He saw a large amount of thunder fluid boiling in the Ruyi furnace, turning into a rainbow-like life force and injecting it into Su Tong's body, obtaining this life force. The yang energy in Su Tong's body became stronger and stronger, and the breakthrough happened in the past few days. But what Su Tong didn't know was that during the few days he was in seclusion, the big shopkeepers of all the major pharmacies at the exhibition were already greeting his whole family. I thought that reconstruction pill was scary enough, but who knew that another 9 bulls, rhinoceros, and elephant pill popped up and its effect was even more terrifying. Now every single pill on the market has been copied and distributed to tens of thousands of script points. It is said that Sangxian Pharmacy has begun to remove all medicines from the shelves, and has begun to take advantage of their price reductions to purchase the elixirs from their pharmacy, and then sell them at a lower price. Some shopkeepers were also dumbfounded by this and cursed old man Zhang for his shameless act. Taking Sangxian Pharmacy's medicines off the shelves and sealing them up, and using their elixirs to fight price wars, is a losing business, but if you think about it carefully, Sangxian Pharmacy actually loses less by doing this. After all, they still have the elixir. Although they have made money, they are making a profit at a loss. The more Sangxian Pharmacy buys, the more they lose. The most important thing is that what you are doing is damaging their signboard, not Sangxian Pharmacy's signboard. This move to remove the firepower really hit the sore point of each family, and I almost told them clearly that if you don't agree with me, I will simply drag everyone into the water. Last time, Mr. Zhang took out 200 million in funds. If this money is really spent, I am afraid that no one will make money in at least the next 4 quarters, let alone this quarter. It is good to be able to protect capital. Now some people can't sit still. If Mr. Zhang is allowed to continue like this, no matter who wins the battle between him and Lo Jinfang, the entire market will be completely ruined. Immediately, someone came to the door and planned to support Mr. Zhang in forming a pharmaceutical trade union. Every time there was one, there were 2. Within 2 days, more and more people came to the door. Although everyone was scolding Mr. Zhang for his disgusting behavior of flipping the table, they didn't dare to let him continue to make trouble. Seeing that the establishment of a pharmaceutical industry has become a general trend, even if a few companies are unwilling to join the union, they can only choose to follow the trend. So a few days later, when Su Tong broke through the Pure Yang sword code to the 9th floor, as soon as he left the room, he heard the news from Ame. Once the pharmaceutical trade union is established, all drugs sold need to be authenticated by the pharmaceutical trade union, and the pharmaceutical trade union will divide the drugs according to levels to uniformly price the drugs. This news really surprised Su Tong. Now you know why that old man Zhang went to such trouble to send us such a large sum of money. Ame raised her head and looked at Su Tong with a smile. After Ame's prompting, Su Tong understood that co-author Lo Jinfang was a target for all pharmacies and forcefully forced them to form a union with Mr. Zhang. You don't need to ask to know that Mr. Zhang is probably the first president of the union. So, does it also include our reconstruction pill? Su Tong doesn't care about the issue of 9-ox rhino elephant pill. After all, the cost of this thing is too high and it is not cost-effective to sell it. Therefore, he is more concerned about reconstruction pill. This thing does not make much money, but it is a steady stream of money. The elixir has been sent to them for pricing. After Ame finished speaking, she narrowed her eyes and said, "I'm talking about the kind that hasn't been strengthened yet." When Su Tong heard this, he immediately felt relieved. That's right, no matter what the pharmaceutical guild is, what I sell is not elixirs, but services, strengthened services. What does your elixirs have to do with it? As for the Junyu Rhino Elephant pill, that is not my problem. I am only responsible for selling it on my behalf. If you don't let me sell it, I will give it away. At worst, I will buy it all myself and keep it for myself in the future, or I can turn it into a scalper. In short, if Mr. Zhang wants to sanction him just because of this pharmaceutical union, it is just a daydream. In fact, Mr. Zhang had no intention of sanctioning Lo Jinfang. He had seen the uniqueness of Lo Jinfang early on, but establishing a pharmaceutical trade union was a huge gain for him. At the beginning, he spent 50 million to call for the establishment of a labor union, but in the end he was pointed at his nose and scolded for harboring evil intentions. Now, that's another situation. It is said that the membership fee alone requires 2 million script points. Each type of elixir needs to pay an additional fee for grading. The money was said to have gone into the union's account, but in fact the union's surname was Zhang. In comparison, the money spent on Lo Jinfang is nothing. At this time, Mr. Zhang may not even have time to thank Su Tong. Without Su Tong, what was not accomplished with 100 million back then, will be accomplished with 200 million this time. The funds will be wasted, not to mention that the actual expenditure is less than 20 million, it is simply a waste of money. As for the future, if the pricing of Lo Jinfang's Zhao Den cannot satisfy other pharmacies, that is another matter. Mr. Zhang has other ways to deal with it. Su Tong has arrived at the gate of the arena. It has only been a few days, and the appearance of the arena has been completely renewed. Not only has the appearance changed from wood to solid stone, but the venue has also become many times larger than before. It can be seen that during this period of time, Yan Zhaoqi has done a lot of good things with his reputation as the god of fighting. Make money. Su Tong tried to buy a ticket, but was told that there were no tickets available today. Now Su Tong could only spend a lot of money to buy an ordinary ticket from a scalper. The so-called ordinary tickets require you to challenge and win 5 consecutive arena games before you can get the chance for Yan Zhaoqi to take action in person. In addition, there are VIP tickets, and you only need to win 3 games in a row. But the price is really a bit too high. Su Tong is not short of script points now, but he doesn't want to be taken advantage of. Playing 2 more games or playing 2 fewer games makes no difference to him. Moreover, his Pure Yang sword cannon has already reached the 9th level. Now that his whole body is filled with the power of Pure Yang, his sword energy is several times better than before. He also wants to find a few more whetstones to test his current methods. It is worthy of the realm of a land god like myself. After buying the ticket, Su Tong strode into the arena. As soon as he entered the field, he saw that there were already people fighting in the field. Because of the special nature of the arena, it is immune to death, can quickly recover physical strength after a game, and reset skill cooldowns. It has indeed become a good place to hone one's strength. Many experts will come here for actual combat, and if they win, they can get 10% of the opponent's script points as a reward, which can be regarded as a quick way to make money. At this moment, the venue is divided into 4 areas, and 4 duels can be held at the same time. Su Tong was not in a hurry to end. Instead, he found an audience seat and sat down. He took out the hookah pipe from the prop book and slowly started smoking it while watching the battle below. After taking a few puffs, a dark figure squatted down not far from Su Tong and whispered, "Brother, I haven't seen you in recent times. Your tobacco is getting more and more flavorful." Su Tong was startled when he heard the words, and saw the other party reaching out to slightly lift the mask on his face, revealing a pair of cloudy eyes. "It's you." Su Tong said in surprise. He didn't expect that the person next to him was none other than Kang Xiazi, the god of gambling. "How did you recognize me?" Blind man Kang pointed to his nose, and then to his eyes. "Although my eyes are blind, my nose and ears are very useful. When we took a bath, I remembered the hookah you smoked as soon as I smelled it, and I also remembered it. Your destiny is very special, so I knew it was you right away." Of course, this is not completely correct. After all, as the commander-in-chief of Golden Point, Kang Xiazi naturally has other methods, but he cannot tell Su Tong these. Su Tong's heart was like a mirror, and when he saw this, he had a tacit understanding and did not ask further questions. He just asked, Why are you here? Something happened in the casino. I'm almost bored. How else could I come here? My old arms and legs can't move, so I just want to have fun. Blind Man Kong rubbed his fingers and pointed to the small window in the auditorium. When I saw the words betting slot hanging on the small window, I suddenly understood. He thought to himself, this Yan Zioki really knows how to do business. As the saying goes, there is no separation between porn and drugs, and fighting and gambling are no exception. He opened a gambling stall here, which is actually no different from those underground black boxers. How about it, do you want to take a gamble? Su Tong glanced at the window and asked with a smile. Blind Man Kong waved his hand, no gambling. Now Su Tong was surprised. This guy was addicted to gambling. Why didn't he gamble today? Blind Kong pointed at Su Tong. As soon as you sat down, I felt that the chi on your body was particularly strong. It is true that it is pressing on you, but gambling like this is too boring. Although I, Blind Kong, love gambling, I can't pursue it. It's a thrill, and there's no suspense about it. What's the point of betting on it? Do you really think I'm short of that little money? Yes, Su Tong knew that Blind Man Kong was a weirdo, but he didn't expect that his hobby was so unique. Seeing Blind Kang's feeble expression, he knew that he was probably suffocated during this period. Thinking of this, Su Tong smiled and said, how about I make another bet? How can I bet you to draw a Tao? Blind Man Kong asked with a smile. Su Tong's eyes gradually became sharper, bet on how long I can last in the hands of the god of war. Hearing this, Blind Man Kong immediately became interested. Okay, let's make a bet. You tell me, do you want script points or prop cards? If we want to bet, let's bet big. Kong Xiaozi has obviously been depressed recently. After the casino was closed, he seemed to have lost the motivation to live. Since Su Tong wanted to bet on himself, Blind Man Kong knew clearly that Su Tong came prepared, but he was still willing to take a gamble because he wanted the stimulation. Su Tong casually took out a 9-ox rhino elephant pill and handed it to Blind Man Kong. This thing is qualified. Hiss, you actually got it. After receiving the elixir handed to him by Su Tong, Blind Man Kong threw it into the prop book and was immediately shocked. Of course, I waited in line for a long time. Su Tong nodded heavily and said. Okay, it's interesting. I thought this thing was from Lo Jinfang, switching left hand to right hand, deliberately playing tricks. I didn't expect you can actually buy it. It seems that this Lo Jinfang is indeed extraordinary. Hearing Blind Man Kong praise himself so much, Su Tong felt a little embarrassed. He touched his chest and said to himself, of course, I am a conscientious businessman. However, Kong Xiaozi's words made Su Tong alert. It seemed that his little tricks could not be hidden from everyone. Blind Man Kong took out a small book from his arms and said, I'll give you something real, too. When Su Tong took a look, it turned out to be a prison burial book. Burial of prisoners. Heaven and earth are prisons, and humans are cages. With the method of burial, one can escape from the 3 realms and 5 elements. Active Skill 1, Funeral Viewing Technique. It consumes 300 script points. You can use this method to see the wonderful burial method in the tomb. Cooling time, 2 hours. Active Skill 2, Prison Breaking Sutra. Every big tomb must be restricted by strange mechanisms. It costs 300 script points to see through the traps in the big tomb in front of you. Cooling time, 5 minutes. Note, arrest the third uncle. Although this prop card is not strong, it is the best card for tomb robbers. If you encounter ancient tombs or large tombs, this method can help you at critical times. After saying that, Blind Man Kong thought of something and added, but if you encounter some evil places, you must be careful. Su Tong couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Brother, you are worried about your gambling skills. Huh, 9 out of 10 bets you will lose. How long you can persist is not up to you, but I just want to take a gamble and see. This is the excitement we are pursuing. Blind Kong looked proud. The easier it was to lose, the more he wanted to give it a try. I believe everyone who has experienced it can understand the joy of making a comeback. The two set a time. If they can remain undefeated for 10 minutes against Yan Zioki, they will win. If not, Kong Xiaozi will win. At this time, Su Tong didn't have any moisture mixed in. After all, the opponent is Yan Zioki, who is a god. It is impossible for him to win. Even if he can hold on for 10 minutes, there will still be a lot of suspense. This is probably a goal he has set for himself. At this time, someone in the audience had already decided the winner. Su Tong was unambiguous when he saw this, and jumped into the ring before others got up. He summoned the pure yang sword in his hand, held the sword with both hands, and raised his hand to the challenger in front of him. "Brother, I'm sorry." The other party was startled when he heard this, and then sneered, "Your Excellency is determined to defeat me? In this case, let's." Before he finished speaking, Su Tong saw the long sword in his hand shaking, and a blazing sword light roared towards him. Seeing this, the other party quickly raised his long spear to block it, but he didn't want to just hear a bang in his ear, followed by a vast expanse of white. Only when he came back to his senses did he realize that he had been killed on the ring, and he had returned to his seat in the audience. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 921. Su Tong took action very quickly, and many people did not notice what was going on. He had already taken the lead and occupied the position of the ring leader. Anyone who noticed the movement here immediately became interested. After all, the people who came here, in addition to coming for Yan Zioki, also had some ulterior motives. For example, some elite newcomers trained by the 6th Regiment will be thrown into the arena. On the one hand, you can occupy the resources of the arena. This arena is a good place. One ticket can stay for 1 day. Players on the same team can play off each other, making it easy for teammates to meet the conditions for Yan Zioki to be dismissed, and to use Yan Zioki to guide them. After discovering the shortcomings of their abilities, they can adjust in time and even break through immediately. After all, they are seed players trained by major teams, and the teams will give them quite generous resources. They do not lack resources, but what they lack is the guidance of experts like Yan Zioki. I believe that the reason why the gunslinger made Yan Zioki a god is precisely because Yan Zioki's arena can become an important training ground for the 6 teams in the future, which will rapidly improve the strength of the 6 teams. In addition, there are a group of people in the arena who take the opportunity to evaluate and record the strength of most players. Once you meet some particularly powerful masters, you will record the characteristics of the opponent, give the opponent a number and record it in the book, and then slowly find a way to verify the opponent's identity. Simply put, it's collecting data. Several people from the Blood Shark group here looked at each other, and then someone stood up, turned over and jumped onto the ring. After the opponent jumped onto the ring, he held his hand to Su Tong and said, "Brother, that's such a fast sword. We didn't even see it clearly just now. Why don't you let me take a look again?" With that said, he summoned a shield from the prop book. The half-human high tower shield suddenly divided into 12 parts as the opponent moved his palm. 1000 Mountain Shield. Spend 800 script points to summon 12 shields and control them at will. The strength level of the shield is divided into 5 levels. Each level has a corresponding special ability, and the level is determined according to the physical strength of the body. Shield levels are divided into hill, mausoleum, mountain, peak, and mountain. Duration, 20 minutes. Cooling time, 3 hours. The person who came here was an elite member of the Shark group, and was nicknamed Dungeon by people. He is a well-known figure in all major teams, and his famous stunt is the Thousand Mountain Shield, so as soon as he makes a move, many people recognize Shield Mountain at a glance. For a time, many people's eyes were attracted. Someone frowned upon seeing this and said very displeasedly, "Huh? Why did Dungeon end up again? Didn't he just fight Yanzioki not long ago? Did he break through so quickly?" There was an agreement between them that after challenging Yanzioki once, they were not allowed to challenge him again for at least a week, unless he broke through again. Ha, breakthrough, joke. Last time, I couldn't survive even 3 minutes in front of Yanzioki, and he was killed by Yanzioki's sword. I heard that Yanzioki said that the shield was too brittle, if he could break through it's like seeing a ghost. A girl sat on the railing, holding a bag of potato chips in her hands and eating it with gusto. He was very disdainful of Dungeon in words, feeling that this guy was a complete mess except for being able to withstand beatings. Catwoman, Yanzioki is the god of war. He said that Shield Mountain's shield is too brittle. I have nothing to say. If you have the guts, come on. If you can break through Shield Mountain's defense, I will give you all my resources this month. When the people in the shark group heard Catwoman's words, they immediately began to mock. Forget it, why are you arguing with a little girl? Don't you know that I met Shandun not long ago and was almost smashed into meat pie by Shandun's shield? Ha, when you said that, I remembered it. It seems that last time she hit the mountain shield for 10 minutes, and she didn't even break the defense. As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately began to detail Catwoman's various embarrassments when she fought against Shinji. Catwoman on the side was gnashing her teeth in hatred. She was a master of assassination, but she happened to encounter a mountain shield. Each of the 12 shields was of the U level, with built-in anti-damage, thick armor, and magic resistance. Coupled with the mountain shield's shield blow ability, she was left unable to fight back. In the end, she was forced into a blind corner, and the 2 shields crushed her left and right. Sent away on the spot. This is why Catwoman hates mountain shields so much. At this moment, the scars were being uncovered in front of everyone, and when he was about to refute, he was suddenly startled, and then let out a weird laugh. Isn't this bitch stupid from being stimulated? Seeing this, everyone in the shark group was confused for a moment. When they were about to say something, they suddenly discovered that Shandun was sitting next to them. Everyone was stunned when they saw Shandun sitting next to him. They just started taunting, and no one noticed the situation in the ring. They seemed to subconsciously feel that Shandun, as the seed member of the shark group, could not lose. Unexpectedly, Shandun was sent back. Shandun, you lost. One of the team members exclaimed belatedly. When Shandun heard the sound, he recovered from the shock. He raised his head blankly and looked in the direction of the ring. Yes, I lost. The sharpness of the sword just now and Su Tong's cold voice were all in his mind. Your shield is too brittle. The almost same evaluation as Yanzioki deeply irritated Shandun, but the opponent's sword did not lie. The sword was too fast and sharp as lightning. His own shield was almost the same as paper and had no effect at all. The slightest obstruction was blocked by the opponent's sword. Who is it? Shandun stood up, looked directly at the figure on the ring, clenched his fists tightly, and had nothing to say after being defeated by Yanzioki. After all, he was a fighting god, a strong man with the title of god. Shandun is confident that among the certified players, at least at the LV4 level, few can easily break his defense. But now his confidence has collapsed. After hearing Shandun's words, everyone looked at each other for a moment. Catwoman laughed even more, but the others couldn't laugh. Shandun, did he break your shield? Someone asked relentlessly. Unfortunately, Shandun ignored the other party this time and snorted coldly, if you want to know, go and try it yourself. After saying that, he left without looking back. Perhaps it was only at this moment that Shan Dun truly understood the astonishing gap between himself, a seed player, and the core of the team. In fact, what he didn't know was that his shield was not that fragile. It was just that he met Su Tong by chance. After the 9th level of the Pure Yang Sword Code, Su Tong truly achieved a body of Pure Yang that was flawless, full of Pure Yang energy, and the edge of the sword showed its full edge. But this is not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing is the Pure Yang sword in his hand. Only when he reached the 9th level of the Pure Yang sword cannon did the power of this magical weapon truly come into play. The passive of the Pure Yang sword is to upgrade the Pure Yang sword code to the 3rd level. With my own cultivation to the 9th level of the Pure Yang sword code, this has already reached the 12th level. The 12th-level Pure Yang sword code not only enhanced his own sword energy, but also made the Pure Yang energy in his body almost solidify, and he could emit thousands of sword lights at the snap of his fingers. Real magical means. But that's far from the end. Passive skill 2, thousands of swords are like firewood. All sword skills are increased by 1 level. Passive skill 3, Pure Yang furnace fire. The blade has its own Pure Yang fire. The heavier the Yang energy in the user's body, the stronger the effect. With these two super passive blessings, Jian and Su Tong already complement each other, and the effect is by no means as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Therefore, Shan Dun's defeat was not unjust at all. I'll give it a try. Seeing Shan Dun lose face, the seed members of the Shark League couldn't sit still. A figure stood up and walked towards the ring. Everyone knows that this is the Master Lei Gong from the same subgroup as Shan Dun, a master of magic, and a guy who is more difficult to deal with than Shan Dun. The appearance of Thunder Lord has already excited everyone's hearts, not to mention facing a master who can defeat Shan Dun. This time everyone did not dare to interrupt with random words, and focused their attention on the ring. This time, no matter what, we must see clearly what methods the opponent used to defeat Shan Dun. Su Tong also noticed the looks from around him, but he didn't care. Since he came to the arena in person, he had no intention of hiding it. Except for the 9 Immortals Cauldron and the Time Walker, these 2 trump cards cannot be moved, and other methods can be used even if they are seen. I saw Lei Gong jumping onto the ring, putting on a mask, revealing a skinny figure, and raised his hands to Su Tong. Brother, I am Lei Gong, the deputy leader of the Tiger Shark Regiment under the Shark Regiment. Can you give me my name? It was me who failed, and I failed clearly. Lei Gong announced to his family first. When Su Tong heard the name, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Are you good at thunder?" Lei Gong nodded, raised his hands, and saw dazzling lightning bursting out from his palms. "Yes, what I am good at is thunder, and you are good at swordsmanship. I don't know whether it is my thunder or your sword that is faster." As soon as the words fell, everyone heard a rumble, and thunder clouds appeared above the arena. A strong sense of oppression made everyone's heart beat faster. However, what shocked everyone was that Su Tong actually put away the Pure Yang sword in his hand at this moment. Huh? Why did he put away the sword? Is he ready to admit defeat? Everyone was immediately puzzled when they saw this, and a burst of evil fire suddenly arose in Lei Gong's heart. What do you mean, am I not worthy of your sword? Haha, don't get me wrong. Su Tong smiled and waved his hand, and then he squeezed it and saw a ray of pure Yang Qi gathering at his fingertip. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 922. Boom. In an instant, the lightning made everyone narrow their eyes. After the lightning flashed, Mr. Lei had already dodged to a corner, and a hole as big as a bowl had been opened where he was standing. Lefa. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Do you see clearly? Is this a skill? Or? Catwoman asked her companions. Catwoman's meaning was very simple. If it was a skill, the cooling time would be indispensable. But if the skill wasn't based on self-cultivation, then it would be different. One of the criteria for becoming a certified player is to fully possess your own abilities in a field. The prop cards will slowly transfer from skills to auxiliary effects. This is like cultivating an immortal. The nature of the prop card will slowly turn into a magic weapon. The battle between players is more inclined to their own strength. Of course, except for players who take the pure prop card route. It's the Thunder method. It's a bit like the 5 Thunder methods of Taoism. There was a shadow of a talisman on his fingertips just now. Could it be that he is from the Talisman sect? But the Talisman sect doesn't seem very similar. Everyone heard that he was a seed player of the demon, nicknamed Zindao. According to rumors, this person joined the Shangqing sect by chance in the world of the script. He has practiced the Shangqing sect's skills and is good at talisman magic. He must have absolute authority. No matter what faction he is in, if he plays with thunder, he is just showing off his sword in front of Guangong. Several people on Shark's side started taunting him. The reason why they are so confident is not simply bragging, but having sufficient self-confidence. All of Thunder God's prop cards are Thunder prop cards, 12 in total, forming a complete Thunder and Lightning system. In addition, Thunder God also has 2 special titles. Even Yan Zhaoqi once praised the Thunder method. Said that he has the qualifications to become a god in the future. With Yan Zhaoqi's affirmation, Lei Gong will soon become one of the core members of the Shark. A quasi-core member, one can imagine his strength. The other party actually used the Thunder method in front of Lei Gong. Isn't it the same as Guangong playing a big sword in front of him? Although they were unhappy with the arrogant attitude of Shark and the others, no one denied what they said. On the ring, Lei Gong glanced at the hole in the ground and couldn't help but sneered, Lei Fa. It's interesting, but just like that, it's too underestimated. What comes and goes, I also want to see what your Lei Fa is like. Su Tong responded with a smile. Humph, I'm afraid you can't bear it. Seeing Su Tong despise him, Lei Gong felt really angry. A powerful electric current suddenly exploded from his body, quickly spreading throughout the arena with him as the center. Electric prison. With a low roar, a large silver arc rose from the ground. Immediately afterwards, Su Tong felt that all the hair on his body stood up, and even his hair stood up like a hedgehog. Boom! In an instant, countless electric snakes jumped up from the ground and penetrated Su Tong's body. Thor's hammer. Upon seeing this, Lei Gong immediately launched a killing blow, and saw countless lightning flashes in the sky in an instant. The lightning spread hundreds of meters and completely converged on one point. Then, a hammer-shaped thunder and lightning flashed across the sky like a meteor and fell instantly to the top of Su Tong's head. The dazzling lightning and huge roar in front of them gave all the players a very chaotic and twisted feeling. It was as if all the rules in the area shrouded by lightning around the arena were instantly invalidated. Thunder and lightning were denser than air, and that area had become a forbidden place for living beings. So strong. In the audience, even though it was the second time for some players to see Lei Gong's killing blow, they still couldn't help but sigh from deep in their hearts. And those who have fought against Raikau can sympathize with the suffering. The range of the electric prison is too large. Once you fall into the range of the electric prison, the static electricity on your body will act like a magnet, causing countless volts of voltage to flow into your body. During this process, even if you want to escape, you will not be able to escape in time, and you will be directly hit by the ground. Arc lock on. Even if his body is strong and can withstand the impact of the electric current, his limbs will still be numb, and his body will be unable to move as if being sucked by the electric current. At this time, he can only watch the thunder hammer above his head fall. This set of combos is simple and crude, making it hard to guard against. It's not over yet. Seeing Su Tong's figure being engulfed by thunder and lightning, Lei Gong suddenly opened his hands, and an evil energy gathered in his palms. Under the guidance of this energy, the surrounding time began to slow down, and the originally dazzling thunder light began to turn into darkness. Color. Touch of death black cage. In an instant, the lightning that was originally spreading outward began to gather back in an instant, forming a huge black sphere. This was Lei Gong's final trump card. He once used this move to kill a quasi-core member of Fan Mai Mountain among the 6 regiments. Seeing that the black sphere has taken shape, all the power of thunder and lightning will be focused in the ball in reverse, and the resulting power will make it impossible for the opponent to survive. Thinking of this, Lei Gong couldn't help but look towards the audience seat. Looking forward to the moment when the other party is sent to the audience. But soon Lei Gong discovered that something was wrong. I saw that my black cage was shrinking rapidly. In less than a blink of an eye, it shrank by more than half, followed by a bolt of lightning that suddenly split open from the black cage. Rumble. The thunder was deafening, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. Lei Gong himself felt as if he had been hit hard. His body swayed and he hurriedly turned into a bolt of lightning and retreated quickly. But the thunder became louder and louder, one sound was louder than the other, and the sky was rolling with thunder, but Su Tong's voice was heard to follow the thunder. I thought you were some kind of thunder god, I think you should change your name to Lightning Mother. Although the thunder was loud, Su Tong's sarcastic voice was also very clear. The so-called thunder method is the wrath of the sky, the voice of Tao, the head of all methods, and the power of the sky. Your thunder method has nothing but appearances. I think it's just an extra large power bank. Faced with Su Tong's ridicule, Lei Gong was so angry that he gritted his teeth. But immediately after he saw Su Tong's figure tore open the dark cell and rushed out. The white dragon scales covered his body, and the lethal electric current wrapped around his scales, more like invisibly fueling him. A power. What surprised Lei Gong even more was that there was a little fat man sitting on top of Su Tong's head. The little fat man's fleshy, pink lotus-like arms were spread out, and 2 thunder drums emerged from behind him. The little fat man had already overcome the calamity and made a breakthrough. When Su Tong was in seclusion, he even gave half a bag of divine gold diamonds to the little fat man to eat. Su Tong didn't know how much the little fat man's strength had improved after eating so many divine gold diamonds. Now he just used this power bank to try it out. Unexpectedly, the little fat man actually summoned 2 thunder drums, and when he struck them with both arms, he heard bursts of dull thunder. It was only after Su Tong saw this that he realized that the true meaning of the thunder method does not lie in thunder and lightning, but in the sound of thunder. So what he just said to ridicule Lei Gong was something he had figured out at the last moment. He took it out and used it, and the effect was just right. The little fat man raised his hands high and beat the thunder drum behind him. With a gentle strike, the thunder and lightning wrapped around Su Tong scattered in all directions. With another strike, the lightning rays gathered into a ball and hit Thunder God hard. At this time, the expression on the face under the Thunder Lord's mask changed, and he immediately jumped up to avoid it. But the little fat man hit the thunder drum casually, boom, boom, boom. The thunder was not loud, but it made everyone's hearts tremble with the thunder, as if it was about to jump to their throats. Even though they were standing in the auditorium and protected by the barrier of the arena, Lei Gong himself was so shaken by the thunder that his face turned pale and his whole body was weak. He could only watch the lightning strike and hit him. Snapped. Under a dazzling bright light, Lei Gong's body fell to the ground upside down. Before he could get up, Su Tong raised his finger, and a sword energy popped out, instantly striking Lei Gong's chest, killing him. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Especially Lei Gong's teammates felt their faces burning with pain. Just now they were clamoring that Su Tong was playing with thunder in front of the Duke of Thunder. It was purely like playing with the sword in front of the Duke of Thunder. Unexpectedly, they were right, but it was not Su Tong who played a big trick in front of Guangong, but Lei Gong. Being beaten down by someone using his best strength, If this news comes out, it will probably become a laughing stock among the 6 regiments. For a moment, when everyone looked at Lei Gong who appeared in the audience, the look in their eyes was not gloating, but sympathy. Defeating at the hands of Yan Zioki was an honor. When Yan Zioki gave an evaluation, it was because he wished he could get a certificate and hang it around his neck, for fear that others would not know about it. But it was defeated at the hands of an unknown person, and was called a power bank. This shame cannot be washed away, and it completely ruined its own brand. Lei Gong sat on the chair for a while, then left quickly with his head lowered. Compared to his defeat at Su Tong's hands, everyone's eyes were more like knives piercing his heart. Thunder Lord? I'm afraid it won't be long before he changes his name to Power Bank. Seeing that Lei Gong was about to leave, Su Tong didn't want to miss this opportunity. Hey! Hearing Su Tong's cry, Lei Gong paused and then heard Su Tong say, I haven't reported my name yet. Remember my name, Kimin. Zhang Haisheng. The reason why he reported the name Zhang Haisheng was not because of a whim, but because he felt that it would be better for the name Zhang Haisheng to appear more often. After all, Zhang Haisheng has never appeared since Qingchen Mountain Luo Tianda was exposed. This was just to make Qingchen Mountain more peaceful in the future, and he would also make Zhang Haisheng more active. After all, Qingchen Mountain is too close to the Mei family. If Qingchen Mountain is not peaceful, the Mei family will also be affected. It turns out it's him. The Tao Sun who spoke just now nodded really thoughtfully when he heard this. He felt that this seemed reasonable and reasonable. After all, the thunder method of the Longhu mountain lineage was also famous far and wide. Lei Gong's eyes were red. He knew that the opponent was going to step on him to get the upper hand, but he could only swallow the broken teeth in his stomach. Who said that his skills were inferior to others? Only after Lei Gong almost fled away did Su Tong raise his head and call out the pure yang sword, next. For a moment everyone looked at each other. But no one dared to take the initiative to defeat the 2 seed players in a row. This guy's strength was obviously qualified to challenge the core members of the team. They went up to kill each other. When he saw that no one was willing to go to Su Tong's ring, he saw a figure jumping onto the ring lightly. I'll do it. Seeing the person coming, Su Tong's pupils shrank, and the person in front of him was wearing a mask with 7 characters written on it, and holding a long sword in one hand. It was none other than the person he wanted to challenge this time, Yan Xiao 7. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 923. Yan Zioki. Seeing Yan Zioki appear early, Su Tong was quite surprised. I wish there were 2 more fights to come. No, I owe U7 Sex a favor. People from U7 Sex won't need the set of rules when they come. Yan Zioki's generosity exceeded the expectations of Su Tong and everyone. He took out a jade sign and threw it to Su Tong. In the future, the 7 of you can enter the venue directly with this sign, and there will be someone to receive you. Kimin, what is the origin of these Kimin? Why is Yan Zioki so polite to them? Which regiment is he a subordinate of? Some people in the audience were shocked. They had never seen Yan Zioki treat anyone like this before. Moreover, the Kimin team sounds very unfamiliar, as if they have never heard of it before. I know this. It's a newly established team. It turns out it's them, so it fits the bill. The one who spoke was the person from the Shark Group, who opened his mouth to explain to everyone, including the information about the sales of the Momin Ridge team not long ago, and the fact that when Yan Zioki's arena opened, 2 members of the 7 Gates team were the first to support it. After hearing what the Shark Group said, everyone was immediately shocked. You mean, the 7 Gates are not a subordinate team of the 6th Regiment? This news made many people feel uncomfortable. These elite seed players had climbed up step by step from the bottom team. They knew that the 6 major teams had formed a fixed network and monopolized a large amount of resources. Intelligence. Without the support of the teams behind them, they would not have been able to make such rapid progress. But in a new and unknown team in Kimin, there are experts who are comparable to the core members. How did the other team do this? No surprise, he is Zhang Haisheng. Sundeo sighed and said, if this person is really Zhang Haisheng, there is nothing surprising. As far as I know, Zhang Haisheng is the current headmaster of Qingcheng Mountain. With the support of Qingcheng Mountain, he can still do it even if he does not have huge resources. Rapid progress. Hearing this, everyone felt a little sad, and some people were unconvinced. Oh, so what, the 6th Regiment tightly controls all resources, so what if he makes rapid progress? The higher he goes, the more resources he needs. I heard that MO men participated in a script not long ago and spent 100 million script points in one breath to barely complete the script. No matter how strong he is personally, he will not be able to go far without enough script points to support him. This sentence made everyone feel a lot more balanced. 100 million script points. I don't know how huge this number is, but it is just the basic cost of a script for the core members of the 6th group. It is said that a script that the gun gods participated in was a battlefield between 2 gods. Just one battle almost bankrupted the gun gods. Therefore, without the support of industry, Chi-men is destined not to go very far. Once they are involved in that kind of superscript world, without the support of massive scripts, they can only be used as cannon fodder. Thank you. Su Tong was not polite and put away the jade cards directly. The seed players of the 6 groups were sent here. It can be seen that Yan Zioki's arena is of great value, and several guys from his own team can also throw it in at any time. It would be a good idea to accept Yan Zioki's advice. Besides, taking a step back, having a friend with the title of God is also a good choice. I haven't seen your 2 team members from last time today. It seems that they already know the way to go. Just now I saw your strength. Your current strength is still a little behind the core members of the 6th Regiment, but you already have the qualifications to become a core member, but your swordsmanship is not strong enough. It is too heavy and not light enough. Although the divine sword is good, it has no charm. Yan Zioki had been staring at Su Tong since he fought against Shan Dun. Before the fight, he pointed out Su Tong's shortcomings. Su Tong felt a little dissatisfied at this time. After all, he had not used all his strength when he killed the mountain shield. It was too arbitrary to draw a conclusion for himself. Thinking of this, Su Tong had some bad thoughts in his heart, intending to make this fighting god suffer. So the corner of his mouth raised slightly, although what you said is very reasonable, I still want to try to see how far I am from you, so. When he said this, Su Tong took a deep breath, held the hilt of the sword with both hands, clasped his fists heavily and bowed deeply to Yan Zioki in front of him. Please enlighten me. Seeing Su Tong being so solemn, Yan Zioki wanted to be polite, but his head suddenly sank and he fell into a trance, as if someone had given him a sap. In this moment of indolence, Su Tong Gren had already taken action. His speed was extremely fast, his earthly immortal body shrunk to an inch, and the moment he raised the sword in his hand, he was already in front of Yan Zioki. So fast. Everyone's eyes widened, and they only saw Su Tong's figure blurred for a moment, and the long sword in his hand had been slashed in front of Yan Zioki. What made them even more incredible was that in the face of such a fatal blow, Yan Zioki's response was surprisingly slow. Fortunately, Yan Zioki, the god of fighting, was not in vain. Sensing the approaching crisis, he suddenly woke up from his hazy mental state. He raised the scabbard in his hand and struck first with the Chunyang sword in Su Tong's hand. Collide together. Boom. There was a clanging sound, and the expression on Yan Zioki's mask suddenly changed. He felt that the sword in Su Tong's hand was far more powerful than he thought. The scabbard cracked the moment he touched it. Fortunately, Yan Zioqi hurriedly pressed down the hilt of the sword and used the cross sword. Turning the force, Su Tong's long sword was pressed back by a soft and sticky force, followed by a twist of the waist. His left hand pressed forward toward Su Tong's chest with the wild horse's parted mane, and he stepped forward with his left knee and kicked him. Su Tong's lower abdomen. This set of 4 movements, including elimination and striking, pushing, pinching and squeezing, together, is the Tai Chi method of grabbing the sparrow's tail. As early as the last battle between Yan Zioqi and Meng Changsheng, Su Tong had noticed that Yan Zioqi was good at Tai Chi sword and Tai Chi boxing, so he was already prepared for Yan Zioqi's counterattack. When he was about to be thrown away by Yan Zioqi, he hooked his finger, and the dragon-binding talisman flew out from his fingertips. It was like a spiritual snake wrapping around a long sword in Yan Zioqi's hand. He pulled hard and pulled himself away. "Come back." When Yan Zioqi saw this, he wanted to give Su Tong a double elbow to make the boy's memory improve, but he didn't expect that his feet suddenly slipped. His feet were unstable, and he was about to fall backwards. This is Su Tong's innate talisman wrestling technique. Even though he was Yan Zioqi, he didn't expect Su Tong's method to be so weird and bizarre. In the eyes of everyone full of question marks, his body had completely lost his balance. With this fall, I am afraid that the opportunity gained will be lost. But what Su Tong never expected was that when Yan Zioqi saw that he was about to slip, he simply leaned back. The moment his shoulders hit the ground, the ring under him suddenly exploded with spiderweb-like cracks. Yan Zioqi used his strength to stood up straight again, opened and closed his hands, and struck Su Tong in the chest. Boom! This time, even if Su Tong was protected by dragon scales, it would be uncomfortable. The heavy pressure was more painful than an 80-inch sledgehammer. But Su Tong didn't dare to distance himself from Yan Zioqi, let alone let Yan Zioqi unsheath his long sword. He knew that Yan Zioqi's swordsmanship was too high. If he really let Yan Zioqi unsheath his long sword, he would only have a chance. All gone. He immediately endured the severe pain and stood firm, watching as Yan Zioqi struck out with a single Tai Chi whip. He quickly summoned the Xianyuan shield and placed it in front of him. Boom! The thunder and ice talismans on Xianyuan shield flashed. At such a close distance, Yan Zioqi couldn't avoid it unless he abandoned his sword. But the next second, an unexpected scene appeared for Su Tong. Yan Zioqi's raised palm suddenly paused in mid-air, then turned into a fist and hit the Xianyuan shield with a short blow. Boom! The wind of the fist was like a cannon, and the shadow of the fist was like a hammer. Before the 2 talismans of ice and thunder hit him, he was shattered by the terrifying strong wind on his fist, and the fist directly penetrated the Xianyuan shield and exploded on Su Tong. Chest. Snapped. The scales on Su Tong's chest exploded with this punch, and the force of the punch even caused Su Tong's back to bulge, and the clothes behind him were shattered. Even though Su Tong has the body of an earthly immortal, his physical body is even more capable of fighting. His vision went dark and he was almost knocked unconscious. He did not expect that Yan Zioqi, who had always used Tai Chi and Tai Chi sword, could suddenly he changed his stance and turned it into a domineering inch punch. For a moment, he couldn't control his body, and flew backwards like a cannonball. His body was close to the ground, and his shoulders hit the ground hard. Then his body flipped in the air, and his feet stepped on the green bricks. He barely managed to avoid being thrown out of the ring. Huh! Yan Zioqi was a little surprised now. The move to relieve his shoulders just now was his unique skill, but he didn't expect Su Tong to imitate it and use it directly. This made Yan Zioqi couldn't help but praise, okay, you learn quickly enough. It seems like you have practiced it too. You have a bit of Tai Chi background. Su Tong opened his mouth, vomited out a mouthful of bruised blood, and then took a long breath. Faced with Yanzioki's inquiry, he just smiled bitterly and said, I have learned a few Tai Chi swords, but I didn't expect that I can still use it like this. I have a prop card for Tai Chi swordsmanship. I thought that with this basic prop card, I had already entered the palace. I didn't expect to find out today that the gap is so big. You're dishonest, you're talking about a sword fight, and you're going to play tricks on me as soon as you get started. A burst of evil laughter burst out from Yanzioki's mouth. Faced with Su Tong's dirty tricks, Yanzioki was not angry, but very happy. During this time, he had seen many masters, and few of them could almost kill him in the moment they took action. The boat capsized in the gutter. Hey, each other, I didn't expect that Tai Chi is not what you are best at. Su Tong said and stood up slowly. He inserted his feet under the bluestone bricks, but a steady stream of life force poured into his body to heal his injuries. It is the active skill in rejuvenation of all things, the source of the earth. Volume 10, Chapter 63, used when fighting against Lu Ji. Active skill 1, source of the earth. It consumes 200 script points. After activation, it can continuously absorb life force from the ground under your feet, increasing your own recovery effect by 200%. And enhance physical defense by 40%. Immune to dark control skills below level 6. Duration, 3 hours. Yanzioki could see that Su Tong had used props to heal his injuries quickly, but he was not in a hurry. Instead, he waited patiently for Su Tong to heal because he had not played so happily for a long time. Faced with Su Tong's words, Yanzioki admitted generously, before I became a player, I spent 12 years learning Tai Chi, Bhe, Wing Chun, and Jeet Kune Do. By now, my boxing skills have long been gone. I'm already in shape, but what I'm really good at is not boxing. Yanzioki raised the sword in his hand with a smile. In fact, Su Tong almost took the sword away from him just now. It's quite mysterious now that I think about it. Seeing Su Tong's injuries gradually easing, Yanzioki raised the long sword in his hand and held it on the hilt with one hand. You are an unruly guy. If we are enemies, I will kill you without reservation the first time I see you, because you are too cunning. If you are given time in the same environment, you will kill Tianchi the right location and the right people will all come to your side. As Yanzioki spoke, the eyes under the mask gradually became colder. Although this sentence sounds harsh, it is undoubtedly the greatest compliment to Su Tong. If Su Tong was stronger and had more weird moves, he would have a chance to snatch the sword from his hand. But I like guys like you, because you can always bring different surprises to people. This sword is a gift from me. You can think about it slowly. After Yanzioki finished speaking, the long sword in his hand was unsheathed, accompanied by a buzzing sound from the blade. Su Tong's pupils suddenly tightened, and the world in front of him instantly turned into darkness. Only a sword light slowly enlarged in front of him, as if a light split the chaos. In an instant, the blood in his body froze, and even his thoughts were blocked. Freeze. At the same time, Yanzioki's voice came to my ears, this sword is called Jinghong. The sound rippled in my ears, and I didn't know how long it had passed, maybe a minute, or maybe an hour. When Su Tong came back to his senses, he realized that he was already in the audience. Looking back again, I found that the arena had returned to its original appearance, and Yanzioki had long since disappeared. I am already dead. Su Tong reached out and touched his neck, his mind filled with images of the sword attack just now. Just when he looked uncertain, the butler of the arena came with 2 servants, carrying a 2-meter wide and 3-meter long stone slab. Hello, this is given to you by our boss. Everyone around them raised their heads and stared at the stone slab. Yanzioki gave others a random note, but Su Tong was different. Everyone wanted to see what was on the slate. But when they came over and took a look, they were immediately disappointed. There was not a single word on the stone slab, only a straight sword mark. Su Tong glanced at the sword mark, and the cold light in his mind hit him again. He frowned, immediately looked away, and nodded to the housekeeper, "Thank you." Saying that, Su Tong put the stone slab into the prop book. However, what surprised him was that after the stone slab was put into the prop book, it actually showed all the special dynamics of high-level prop cards. And the entries given are even more outrageous. Sword mark slate. It is said that before the sword master died, he called his 3 apprentices and gave them 3 stone slabs. Each stone slab had only 1 sword mark. It was rumored that it contained a touch of the sword master's sword intention. Special passive: the person holding the stone tablet has add 10 knowledge of swordsmanship. Looking at the entry in the prop book, Su Tong was surprised. Could it be said that Yan Zioki's swordsmanship comes from the stone slab? If this is really the case, this guy is too generous. Seeing that Su Tong remained motionless, the housekeeper seemed to have guessed what Su Tong was thinking, and said with a smile, "Sir, you are welcome. My boss is known as the god of fighting. When he built this arena, he said that anyone who challenges him, regardless of winning or losing, I will give pointers to the challengers without reservation." Hearing the butler's words, Su Tong was suddenly shocked again. This kind of shock can only be experienced by trying it yourself. How big of a mind this is, or maybe this is Yan Zioki's invincibility. Su Tong couldn't help but flash in his mind a movie called Kung Fu that he had watched a few years ago. The protagonist of the movie, Axing, said to Huoyun evil god at the end, "If you want to learn, I will teach you." This is what one dares to say only when his heart and strength have truly reached that level of invincibility. At this time, the butler turned around and said to everyone, "Everyone, starting tomorrow, the arena will be temporarily closed for upgrading and renovation for 3 months. We will see you in 3 months." When everyone heard this, they were immediately unhappy. 3 months, why does it take so long? Yeah, isn't this just opened? Why does it take so long this time? The gladiatorial arena has many benefits. Aside from Yan Zioki's guidance, it is more of a competition between masters from all sides. Not only can you understand the methods of other masters, but it can also hone your own strength. So when I heard that the museum was going to be closed, I felt a little unhappy. In the face of everyone's complaints, the housekeeper just kept apologizing. After everyone dispersed, Su Tong was still thinking about the stone slab. He, the harvest is not small. At this time, blind Mankang, who was sitting next to him, finally reminded him of the bet. "Here you go, I lose this time." Su Tong knew that his battle time must not have reached 10 minutes, so he handed the bet 9 ox rhino elephant pill to blind Mankang. "Ha ha ha, okay. Blind Mankang took the elixir and suggested to Su Tong to go to a restaurant for a drink. Su Tong was also hungry. Even though the fight with Yan Zioki was short, he felt that a lot of his energy and physical strength were consumed in just a few fights. If he doesn't use the 9 Immortals Cauldron, facing such an opponent, he really has no chance of winning. While the two were talking, they came to the restaurant. Blind Mankang is a person who knows how to enjoy himself. Although the restaurant he found is remote, it was packed with guests and almost all the seats were occupied. Fortunately, blind Mankang is a frequent visitor here, and there is a private room upstairs that is always reserved for him. This restaurant has a major feature. Do you know what it is? Before he could even sit down, Kang Xiaozi started to introduce the specialty dishes of this restaurant to Su Tong: braised vegetables, century-old braised vegetables. The taste, very exciting. This braised pork elbow, braised pig head, braised pig. The hoof has a bright flavor and color, is moderately soft and glutinous, and becomes more and more fragrant the more you eat it. There is also braised large intestine, which is not soft just yet, but the key is the taste. 1 bite is like being possessed by a god, and 2 bites will make you forget all your worries. Su Tong was already hungry, but after hearing what Blind Mankang said, he already started to drink fluid under his tongue. Seeing this, Su Tong waved his hand and directly put a jar of fine wine on the table. After slapping the mud seal on the jar, the aroma of wine suddenly overflowed. Blind Kong raised his nose and almost jumped with excitement. What a great wine! 100 years old. Then he looked at the wine jar again, and after discovering the plum blossom mark on the wine jar, he immediately asked in surprise, "Is this the wine from Plum Blossom Manor?" "Yes, if you like it, I'll give you a jar." Su Tong had a very good impression of Blind Mankang. If he hadn't taken him into the casino, how could he have walked so smoothly? Therefore, Su Tong is not stingy at all towards Blind Mankang. Okay, but I, Blind Mankang, can't accept such a heavy gift from you in vain. Anyway, I give you this gift in exchange for this jar of wine. As Blind Mankang said, he casually threw the prop card that he had used as a bet to Su Tong, and started drinking impatiently while holding the wine jar. Su Tong wanted to refuse, but couldn't resist Kong Xiaozi's enthusiasm, so he simply accepted it. At this time, the food was also served on the table, and Su Tong started to devour it unceremoniously, taking a bite of the braised pig's trotters. Sure enough, as Blind Mankang said, it tasted surprisingly delicious. It's soft, glutinous, and fragrant, and when you take a bite, the meat inside is so slippery that it springs to your teeth. Coupled with a sip of fine wine, I feel like my whole body's muscles and bones are invigorated, and I feel indescribably comfortable. All worries are really forgotten. Brother, we hit it off right away, and we are both from the 4th Little Yinmen. Tell me the truth. Did you use a mountain buckle when you made a move? Blind Mankang lowered his voice and asked in a low voice. In the eyes of outsiders, they couldn't see the secret behind it. It was only because Yan Zioqi suddenly became confused that Su Tong almost took away the sword at the beginning. Only Blind Kong was frightened. After all, no one else knew Shuigui's name. How could Blind Kong not know it? Hee, you can see it. Su Tong hugged the pig's trotters and gnawed them wildly. He just smiled when he heard this. In fact, the power of worshipping the mountain buckle is very strong, especially the body of one's own earthly immortal, whose energy and spirit are beyond that of mortals. Once he bows down, people like Shan Dun and Lei Gong will be caught off guard and will be seriously injured. The fact that he had just made a powerful god like Yan Zioqi confused was evident of his power. But Beishinko relies more on luck. The stronger the luck, the stronger the power. When my master was able to kill everyone with this method, it was precisely because he was in a state of destiny. Yan Zioqi's luck must be stronger than his own, so the mountain buckle can only make him feel like a sap, and it cannot have any killing effect. Of course, Su Tong would not talk to Blind Mankang about these things. Seeing Su Tong smile and say nothing, Kong blindly understood and did not ask further questions. Just as the two of them were changing cups and eating deliciously, Chang Wazi suddenly shouted to Su Tong in the team channel, "Boss, you are going to be famous. Many people are now spreading rumors about the battle between you and Thunder Lord. You may have to have your account banned." Title. Su Tong was startled, and it took him a moment to realize that the title Chang Wuju meant was not a game title, but a title, such as the 3 duties, the 8 great evils, and the 4 directions. Although it cannot be compared with the title of conferred god, it seems that he will also get an additional exclusive title. Just when Su Tong was confused, news came from the prop book, "Your strength has been recognized by most players. Are you willing to get the title New Thunder Lord?" There are so many fighting scenes that it would be uncomfortable to watch them separately, so the 2 chapters are combined together. Infinite Script Killing. Author, Guo Shui Gan Xiao. Chapter 924. The New Thunder Lord? Looking at the title given to him in the prop book, Su Tong was really surprised. What surprised me was not that I got the title, but that I was surprised why the title was Lei Gong. Didn't anyone mention the battle between himself and Yan Zioqi? But after thinking about it, I felt relieved. Yan Zioqi's reputation as the fighting god was at its peak. Many challengers were defeated by Yan Zioqi without exception, including himself. So most people are not interested in Yan Zioqi's battle process now, because they know the result when they hear the name. Just like football, who doesn't like to watch Brazil versus Real Madrid or Italy versus Germany? But if you switch to the men's football team, oh, no matter who the opponent is, I won't be interested. The result has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Vice versa, when Yan Zioqi's reputation as the god of fighting has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, the process of the battle is ignored, and the result is always a loss anyway. Unless Su Tong upset Yan Zioqi and defeated Yan Zioqi, no one would care about this process. In contrast, the battle between Su Tong and Lei Gong is more likely to attract people's attention. After all, Lei Gong's reputation is not low, but he was defeated by others with the same thunder method. This result itself has a strong eye-catching effect. Ding! Do you want to accept the title of the newly promoted God of Thunder? If you accept this title, you will obtain a unique title skill, but you will not be able to obtain other titles for a long time in the future. Seeing that Su Tong remained silent, the prop book could only issue another reminder. Reject. Su Tong answered simply this time and directly rejected the account ban. The title Lei Gong sounds very powerful, but Su Tong has no interest in this title at all, not to mention the word new in front of it, which always sounds like someone else's wisdom, which makes him full of disgust. What's more, thunder spells are the specialty of the second soul. Although he has thunder talismans, they are far less powerful than the little fat man. The bonus of this title is of little use to him. However, what Su Tong didn't expect was that after he refused, 2 messages were sent out from the prop book. Ding! You have rejected the title of the new Thunder Lord and can no longer obtain this title. This message will be sent to exhibition players by default. Ding! Player has given up on inheriting the new Thunder Lord and can no longer obtain this title. These 2 messages were sent to all players in the exhibition, and many people were shocked. This guy from Kimin is so awesome. This isn't a title card, it's a title ban. He actually refused. Some people immediately lost their composure after seeing the news. Although Su Tong's name was hidden and replaced with an asterisk, one could easily guess that this person was Zhang Haisheng from Kimin. Just when Su Tong and Yan Zioqi were fighting, someone sold the memory of the fight between Su Tong and Lei Gong. Of course, this is not because the other party is kind and willing to help Su Tong with publicity, but he wants to take advantage of the opportunity to severely suppress Lei Gong. The relationship between the 6 regiments is not very harmonious. It is naturally a good thing to take the opportunity to knock down Lei Gong's title. It is precisely because of the spread of caring people that Su Tong has become the new thunder god in the eyes of many players. After all, Su Tong is not only superior in thunder skills, but the little fat man on top of his head is also so cute. With his chubby body and 2 thunder drums behind him, he is simply a miniature version of the image of the god of thunder in mythology. No matter how you look at it, it looks more like Thunder God than the previous power bank. So after hearing the news, many people didn't understand such a good opportunity. It is said that the title banning skill can be upgraded. If upgraded to the strongest level, there is a chance to become a god. Why did the other party refuse it? Haha, that Thunder King from the Shark Group, I think he is just a power bank. This guy is so lucky that he didn't get knocked down like this. Outside the private room, you can already hear people complaining from time to time. Luckily, maybe I didn't intend to take this path at all, it's just a skill I picked up casually. Others speculated that Su Tong might not major in thunder. Many people also began to inquire about the news about Kimin. Kimin, what's the origin? I seem to have heard someone say this before. Is this team so strong? I heard that there seems to be a Taoist background behind him. He is not afraid of the resource blockade of the 6th Regiment. He seems to be called Zhang Haisheng. Everyone was talking about it, and some people were shaking their heads with regret. Hey, what a pity. But I don't know whether it's a pity that Su Tong didn't become the new Thunder Lord, or it's a pity that the title of the power bank was preserved. But who is feeling the most uncomfortable at this moment? There is no doubt that it is the man who has been scolded as a power bank by everyone. The first time I heard the news, the power bank was stunned for a long time. Immediately his face became even more depressed. With the pearl in front of him, his title as Thunder Lord became flashy. When he thought about his family name again in the future, the other party would probably just call him Power Bank and would not treat him like Thunder Lord. There is no recognition at all. I'm afraid you might even say sarcastically, you are picking up what others don't want. When Lei Gong thought about this scene, he felt that it was more uncomfortable than stabbing himself. Lei Gong, don't worry about it. His rejection is just because he is not suitable. It has nothing to do with you. There is news from the deputy captain, saying that you will be the captain of the first team first and hang out with the main team for a while until you get used to it. After following their rhythm, they will take you into the core of the main group. The woman on the side patted Lei Gong on the shoulder and comforted him. This woman's voice was very sweet, and seemed to have a unique magic power that made people's tense heartstrings gradually relax. It's just that after hearing the woman's words, Lei Gong felt even more bitter in his heart. The woman's words sounded nice, but they were completely different from the deputy leader's previous promise. Being the captain of a first team means that he is the captain of the first team. Instead, he becomes a core member and becomes a substitute. As for how long this substitute position will last, it's hard to say. The more he thought about it, the angrier and more upset he became, but there was nothing he could do. He could only secretly swear in his heart that he would get this debt back no matter what. You refused. There was a lot of movement outside, not to mention that Blind Kong also witnessed the whole process. After hearing the news from the prop book, he looked at Su Tong in surprise. Banning an account is not an easy thing. Apart from the famous figures such as Sandu, 8 Evils, and 5 Fang Zun, the vast majority of players do not have their accounts banned. After all, it is not easy to be recognized by the majority of people in the exhibition. Not suitable, don't like it, doesn't sound good. Su Tong gave his reasons very simply, without any delay in stuffing sausage into his mouth. It seems that Su Tong cares more about whether the last sausage on the plate can be eaten in his mouth than the so-called title ban. Faced with Su Tong's willful explanation, Blind Kong could only smile bitterly and didn't know what to say. Lao Kong. At this time, Su Tong suddenly raised his head, as if he had remembered something very important. After eating all the sausage in his mouth, he stared at Blind Man Kong in front of him. Why do I always think so every time I meet you? I think you seem to be very laid back. Don't you have a team? Why don't you come to our team to play? Blind Man Kong burst out laughing when he heard this. Farewell, my old bones can't stand the trouble, so I bought a property here and became my own housekeeper. Although I can't return to reality, I can enjoy the rest of my life in peace. You're old and you only have a few years to live, so why bother yourself? Blind Kang's explanation blocked Su Tong's mouth perfectly. If someone has property and enjoys happiness, why should he join your team? In fact, Su Tong's words were just a test, because he felt that this blind man was not as simple as he seemed, and he just wanted to take the opportunity to find out. So when Su Tong heard what Blind Man Kong said, he became interested. He took a sip of plum blossom wine and asked boldly, so that's it? Then what is your family's property for sale? I'll give it to you another day. Cheers. Unexpectedly, when Blind Man Kong heard this, he seemed to have made a draft a long time ago, and said unhurriedly, didn't you go there last time? These words confused Su Tong, but he soon realized what it was, not returning to Tang Quan. Hey, come and report my name next time and I'll give you a 20% discount. Hearing Blind Kang's admission, Su Tong immediately grabbed Blind Kang's hand and complained, "Old Kang, you are really unreasonable. I should have told you earlier. I've been there several times and I haven't seen you give me any discounts." Blind Kang complained that he was wronged, raised his glass and said, "You didn't mention me either. Next time, next time." The two exchanged cups, and then they said goodbye to each other and left after they had finished drinking and eating. After Kang Xiaozi left, Su Tong sat on a chair, holding a cigarette rod in one hand, puffing away smoke, and thinking about Xiaozi Kang's true identity. He had seen the property map of the exhibition. The area occupied by Bugui Tang Quan was neither large nor small, and it was located in the core area. If what this old guy said was true, he should not be underestimated. After finishing the cigarette, Su Tong asked the waiter to repackage a portion of braised meat and returned to Lo Jinfang. After returning to Lo Jinfang, Su Tong immediately took out the slate Yan Zioqi gave him and put it in his room. He carefully observed the sword mark on the stone slab, stretched out his fingers to trace along the sword mark, and suddenly the sword intention that seemed to have been condensed millions of times flooded into his mind. But when he tried, he couldn't imitate the sword intention on the stone slab at all. It seems that this kind of thing cannot be accomplished overnight. Thinking of this, Su Tong frowned for a moment. After some thought, he simply called out the Chunyang sword. Looking at the sword in front of him, Su Tong didn't know what he thought of, and his eyes gradually began to heat up. If you are not good at swordsmanship, then just use weapons. After all, times have changed. As he spoke, Su Tong turned around and took the Chunyang sword straight to the basement processing workshop.